The moment is upon them in North America because the ALGS is here with day 7. And guess what? If you don't win today, if you need points and you don't do it, you are looking at maybe not making the biggest events of the year. That's right. We have teams turning up the heat to 11, trying to go for another win and be the first, like TSM, to get 3 wins in Pro League. And we also have teams on the bottom desperately clinging on for a chance to try to get in to our regional final and make it to LAN. All of the drama unfolding today, and I couldn't tell you about it alone. Of course, my name is Rain Day, and I'm joined by 2 of the best in the business, my co-casters, my compatriots here, Spider Tiff and Vicky Kitty. I tried to set the stage a little bit for the ALGS here. Day 7, it's a tricky day because it doesn't feel like anything hinges particularly on this day. But when you look at it, Vicky, this is really where a lot of storylines start to turn for these teams.
There's so much on the line here. It's do or die territory for the likes of G2, Tripods. They need to perform if they want a chance at even performing at LAN. You highlighted it perfectly, Rain Day. This is one of the biggest opportunities to perform in person as a squad. And it is really crazy that some of these squads that we were expecting to pop off may be finding themselves in a relegation area.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Vicky. This is a trying time. It's kind of scary. You mentioned it. Some of the biggest names that are facing relegation, even just at a point where they're outside the top 20. I know we're going to touch more on that later, but I am just really excited to see some of these teams step up to the plate and do what has to be done to get themselves inside that top 20.
Well, I know there's a lot of competitive action all around the world. We got the World Cup going on. It's a Sunday, so if you're here in chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Don't worry, we got a great show for you. Let's check out who is participating, though. That's part of what makes this show so interesting. This is the last meeting we will see of Groups A versus B. It will be A versus C and B versus C over our next match days before we head into the regional final. So in terms of doing it in this group, Vicky, this is your last chance.
Yeah, I'm looking again at Tripod. Season out here needs to be able to perform as well. G2 needs to have a good day. I love watching G2 because this is the squad that we saw kind of make the move over to the Bangalore and Bloodhound composition. Furia, can they continue on their dominating performance that we saw in the last competitive day with them into today? There's so much on the line for a lot of these teams.
And taking a look at the regular season standings, Tiff, TSM obviously able to maybe set a record here, be the first team in North America in any region to win 3 match days.
I mean, that's what they need to do. Coming off the back, they have won both days of Group A versus B matchups, so they are feeling incredibly confident. But just because you've won 2 match days of this pairing doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. When you've got the likes of Team Liquid, you've got Furia in the lobby, there's going to be a lot of people looking to kind of break that cycle for them. And then I'm looking down right in 10th place, Dark Zero, tied with the former Atlanta Premier roster of HEC. These are teams that need to really lay it on the line tonight.
Big moments for Dark Zero, our LAN winners. NRG also a name that will be having a lot of fans in chat today wanting to see if they could perform, push themselves into the top 10. Also Tripods, Nick Merck streaming his perspective, but seeing what him and Deeds and Jenk can put together, they're in a good spot here. On the bottom half, though, Vicky, Sentinels, they had a really nice performance last match day. They were able to bump themselves up, but they're still on the cusp of relegation. And now it's starting to be a conversation between, can Cloud9 keep that spot, or will Sentinels or another team here, E8 maybe, Smiley Bots, will they move into that last spot?
Yeah, Sentinels being in that Group C is just going to have to watch a lot of these other squads duke it out today. I mean, you talk about Tripods, G2, CLG, even the likes of C9 can easily try to overtake them. So there is a lot for Tripods to really prove here, so that way they don't get bullied out of the top 20.
So many stories today, and a lot of them to watch. We've got Liquid, we've got C9, we've got NRG, we've got TSM. We have got a lot of different things. We've got Tripods, we've got a lot of different big names here competing in A versus B the last time they'll meet. And of course, we can make stories about everyone. But going into it, Tiff, we always kind of have our eye on 2 teams in particular. So I'll leave it over to you. Who do you have your eye on starting day 7?
Look, starting day 7, there would be no other team that I could pick other than TSM. That legendary trio consisting of Imperial Hal, Verholst, Reps, that lone MNK player left on the roster as IGL Hal has mostly converted over to the controller side. This team has had its ups and downs as of late, but has still managed to cement themselves at the top of the regular season standings, with Team Liquid hot on their tails. And with TSM coming off back-to-back match day wins faced up against Group A, the question is, can anyone stop them from that three-peat rain day? I mean, the first match day, they had the benefit of having 2 storm point zones pull towards the wall. Vicky, this is one of those moments where they're saying, this is why we are the best known team in Apex right now.
Yeah, the most consistent team, honestly, especially when it comes to their performance on World's Edge, which is where we're going to be starting off. But a team that I want to highlight, because this is so important, is a team that's on the bubble. It's Dark Zero Esports. Currently with Zero, Jen, Sharky, this squad is able to really have the talent that they need to pop off. But sitting in 10th place, cuz in the overall NA leaderboards, their best performance in this was actually in this lobby with groups A versus B, where they finished in 5th place during day number 1. But then when they came to revisit the same lobby in day 4, they ended in 9th place. So with only 2 more days left to secure those extra points to qualify for LAN, there's a lot on the line for this Prime squad that's on the bubble of qualifying for an IRL event.
And just as these teams are maybe heating up, on the opposite side, this team needs to heat up, and maybe they're just a little bit too cool. At least that's the way they began. In A versus B to kick off the entirety of the Pro League in this new season, Cloud9, they hit 17th place. Then in day 4, they bounced up to 8. A top 10, it was good, but they found themselves at the very last spot, holding to basically getting into Pro League next year. They are facing relegation if they don't continue to move forward, let alone having a chance to be in top 20, play in the regional final, and have a chance at LAN. It is do or die. It is must-win time for Cloud9. Let's see if they can do it today. Of course, that leads us into where they'll be trying to do it and all the teams that we've been bringing up for you to keep your eyes on this broadcast. World's Edge will be our first 3 matches, and then we will transition over into Storm Point to finish off the day. And if you want to catch multiple teams, if you want to see them on every map, well, go ahead and check out multi-view. It allows you to get all the perspectives that you want. You can open the command center and see how maybe Furia decides to rotate while NRG holds the circle, and maybe how TSM teams team comms sound, all at your fingertips in the command center. You can have the ALGS your way. So we always want to shout out multi-view for those who are interested. All right, well, it's time for What's in Your Pack, presented by WD Black. We always take a look at items that interest us, and today we decided to focus on some basics. Maybe you're new to Apex, maybe you're just joining us, but whether you're new, whether you're old, you can tell the significance of a properly placed thermite. Vicky, sometimes it's the difference between winning and losing a fight.
I love it because you basically force 50-50 situations using that thermite, and we've seen it in many different moments. Specifically here with Luminosity, there was a squad that was playing right underneath them, and what better way to just force them out in that situation than barraging them with a plethora of thermites, literally putting them in the line of sight of the other Luminosity members here. So it's nice to be able to highlight the fact that the thermite not only puts them in the line of sight of other teams, but you could also obviously use the thermite to increase that rampage rate of fire. That's always very nice to see if you do manage to capture your hands on a rampage from the crate.
Yeah, and it was really interesting in that clip with Yanya right there. Not only did he have 1, but 2, but he had 3. And if you saw the placement of where they landed, it actually separated that team out, which really did force them. And I mean, with 4 damage per tick, there's nothing better than yeeting a thermite into an unsuspecting team that you know has no Watson generator up and just watching the ticks of actual flesh down on. That gives you that line of sight. And you're like, hey, now we know we can just close the gap and fire into them with our Volt, the car SMG, or any weapon of choice.
You know, it is one of the classier ordinances, I might say. Arc Stars, grenades, you know, they're a little messy, but a thermite, that clean line, that take damage, there's something that just feels so good about that. Thank you to WD Black. That was What's in Your Pack for today. Vicky, Tiff, let's talk a little bit about it, because I know this day has so many different storylines. I'm also curious for a team called Furia, who, if you didn't notice, they made a big splash in the ALGS scene over the course of the earlier part of this year. Can they continue getting back on that horse, that train, Vicky, that led them to such prominence and a second place finish at championships?
They absolutely need it right now. They had a great performance in the last ALGS day that we got to see them. They actually got 2nd place right behind the guard. They didn't secure a dub, though. That is my big question, because when we talk about these consistent squads, at the end of the day, it's securing that dub that allows you to feel a lot more comfortable, since they had a pretty rough start to the start of this ALGS season. So I want to see a dub. I know they're heavy fraggers. We know how his Watson thinks. He's very vocal. He loves the game. He's sitting at #1, I believe, in Pred. So he is ranked #1. He's looking to continue on his domination, but they got to secure the dub.
And Tiff, I want to get your thoughts on maybe just Furia, but also I want to talk about tripods a little bit as we take a look at the last time this group met in match day 4. Walk me through how you're feeling about those two teams in particular and their chances today.
Look, kicking it off with Furia, you noticed that transition right there. Watson picking up Bangalore. He has a lot of experience running that legend on Broken Moon, Vicky mentioned in ranked, so has been bringing that here into the ALGS broadcast in these match days, and it's actually proving to be really victorious. And honestly, after the EMEA broadcast, I'm feeling pretty vexed, and maybe Furia can take some of the success that Vex, that kill-heavy team early on, and utilize that here tonight. And you mentioned tripods. Well, that's Nick Merckx, Deeds, Gent. Let me just tell you about them. They're incredibly passionate, and Nick Merckx is no stranger to hard work and dedication. So I'm excited to see what this team can bring to the table. You can see right here the results from the last meetup against Group A versus B. Tripods down there in 10th place, tied with Cloud9 and Dark Zero, and you know that they're not happy with that positioning for themselves. They obviously want more.
And this is, of course, TSM's second win. Can they do it again in A versus B, get that win? But tripods, I think, having off the back of your comment there, just a really good opportunity to continue their synergy. A lot of people have been surprised with the success, with the ease that they've had so far transitioning into Pro League. That Nick Merckx has been a great content creator, but a big staunch supporter of Apex Legends, and had to face the doubters along the way. But teaming up with Gentrifying after the G2 split, that seemed a little odd to some, but made sense to G2 and them internally. Seems with Deeds to have found the rhythm. Can they take it to the next notch where it just becomes a little more clinical, a little more consistent, and obviously a little bit more successful, as in a win? I want to see some sparks fly in North America, Vicky. I want some upsets. I want some big wins. I feel like we're going to get it today, though, but it just has that kind of, I don't know, something's in the air in North America. I think we got a good show.
This is literally the deciding week for so many of these teams. It's actually so crazy to look at the likes of Furia, even one of the teams that are not in this lobby today, Optic Gaming, sitting in 16th in the overall standings. Of course, we're going to be seeing them in the next Pro League date in an NA, but it's the fact that so many of these high-end teams are not qualifying for land right now. They are outside the cusp of being in the top 9. Yeah, of course, there's that finale that could determine who our 10th place squad is, but it's the fact that we're now looking at the likes of NRG to perform really well, so that way they could be in the top 9. Dark Zero to get out of that bubble spot that I highlighted before, being in the 10th place spot. Furia, obviously, needing to have a good day after having a very lackluster day 4 performance.
And Tiff, I think another team that we have to keep our eyes on always, NRG. They made the big switch. They took away, Gildersons from Liquid. It has now been enough of a season to go. We're still waiting for that final form. Do you think they're getting there? Is this the day where they show it?
I mean, like a Pokemon, they could just evolve here tonight.
It's the evolution, yeah.
Yeah, this is the evolution that we've been waiting for, that final form that you mentioned. I know that NRG Suite has been kind of dabbling with different legend compositions throughout the week. At even one point, I believe Suite was playing Catalyst. They got an epic win, but the question is, if you do break out the Catalyst here today, Catalyst Dark Veil really shows its prominence and its success there in those end game scenarios where you can really block the LOS. But the question is, can they get to that end game to be able to utilize that if they break it out?
That's right. And you know what? I think that's the bigger question for them and what Sweet has to balance. Obviously taking the title of one of, if not the best IGLs in the business, but doesn't want to claim that title over Zero until he can prove it at LAN. But you got to get to LAN first. You got to get into top 10. That's NRG's plan, to stay there and to do it when we finish up into our regional finals. Liquid, though, Vicky, a team too that is always, for some reason, even when they climb to the top, listening to Hodsick, not happy with their results. He said, I wish they could have done better. As we get ready to get into our game, I want you to leave us with that conversation there and see if Liquid, if they do better, what does that mean? Winning every single game? 100,000 points? I don't know. But Vicky, I'm sure that they'll be excited to perform yet again in this star-studded lobby. It is day 7. It is NA. It is the ALGS. And it's Vicky Kitty and Spider Tiff.
Thank you so much, Rain Day. I love how he left us with a Team Liquid note because after talking to Hotsick and kind of figuring out what his mindset is with the rest of his squad, it's always interesting to hear how they always want to perform better and better because even getting the first place spot on the day that they were able to perform in day 5 wasn't enough for them. So maybe this is another opportunity for them to at least secure the dub. And I can understand Hotsick, Tiff, because they didn't secure a W in any of the games that they played in. They constantly got second, they got third, yeah, they got KP, but it wasn't the win that they wanted to get.
My question is, what is going to be enough? And I feel like it's that moment when you can make it to Split 1 playoffs and take a LAN victory. I feel like that's when you can just say, you know, I've done enough, but now I'm ready to go next and get another one. You know, we only have one team on our lobby, I believe, that had that back-to-back LAN victory. That's going to be Dark Zero, and they're on the cusp of not even qualifying for the Split 1 playoffs. This is a moment where so many big names are fighting it out for one of 10 spots coming out of North America. And with that being said, what better way to kick it off than with TSM, who typically drops over at Lava Siphon. Hal already finding a purple shield. What a way to kick off this journey.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of talking about Hotsick, the coach of Team Liquid, it's also nice to talk about Raven, the coach for TSM, who has made a lot of these interesting decisions to help elevate TSM's consistent gameplay as they have been topping the overall standing, sitting in #1 in the overall leaderboard for North America and looking to take another dub under their belt with making the swap over from Fragment East into Lava Siphon. Sometimes you get that beacon that's in that middle building in Lava Siphon, so you already leave Lava Siphon with not just great loot, but also amazing information for your next rotate.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing that up because if you guys didn't know, Raven was formerly the coach of GMT Esports. Now the Pioneers over on that side made the break, came on over to TSM. TSM shifted up a lot of things such as their drop spot POIs on both maps, and they kind of changed up their legend composition. So doing obviously wonders here as they made their way to the top of the regular season standings. But a team that is also on the cusp of making it into the top 9, that's going to be HEC, that former Atlanta Premier roster. You have the IGL Hill, Enemy, and Crook, and they are just absolutely punishing the bots.
Yeah, unfortunately for bots, they lose out on Jay Lowen in the process, and Heck are going to be able to walk away with claiming this building that has the beacon. Usually we see this building very heavily contested in the early game from the squads that usually land on the east side of Skyhook and the squads that like to rotate quickly away from Fragment West, but non-stop action happening on other sides of the map. It's got to be NRG trying to fully send it onto the squad with some nice shots on the longbow.
Yeah, it looks like Sweet's gonna elect to play Valkyrie, so no Catalyst here on World's Edge, and they've already got that beacon information, and you mentioned it. They were able to grab one elimination on Dark Zero, and they are on the hunt. They want more, and honestly, what better way to kick it off with 350 damage and just being absolutely punishing Gildersons on that Loba, so they're gonna be able to quickly rotate while grabbing whatever loot that they prefer. Guys, if you don't know anything about Apex and you're just joining us, Loba is one of my favorite legends. Her ultimate, the Black Market, has the ability where you can pick up infinite ammo that doesn't count as your 2 selections of your choice from there.
And a squad that actually really made this a nice staple approach for their composition is actually Team Liquid. That's why I really liked watching Team Liquid's different approaches when they tried different things. They did, I mean, at least talking to Hotsick in LAN, one thing that was notable was that they were one of the few, if not only squads in LAN during the championship to try to rock the Lobo. So at one point they had to put the Lobo away so that way they weren't the squad that was getting called out and bullied by the teams that knew it was Team Liquid in the lobby. So that was a very interesting conversation I got to talk to with Hotsick. And with other squads now incorporating the Loba, the game plan here is you want to sit in final circle positioning. You take the quick rotation with the sky. Oh, Nathan? Nathan? All right, Nathan, don't worry. You can walk your way over. It's okay. They got pinged, though, by other squads. So with that Valkyrie passive, they're going to have to start making their move. Nathan having to unfortunately use their legs instead.
Yeah, but it's Watson. It's not a movement character. She's only good at putting up happy little fences, and now she's doing a little dancey dance with her beautiful heirloom out. And I feel like they weren't able to get the skyward dive that they wanted. They cut it a little bit short because you can see they're not going to leave Nathan behind.
Yeah, it's okay. Nathan managed to make their way over to the rest of Energy. Sweet did take some good amount of damage, and it is nice to note with this circle pulling in the direction that it is, definitely expect that same building that we highlighted with the beacon north of Fragment West to get contested very quickly, since that's where you're going to find your line of information, because we've seen this circle as Guild falls so low. He needs to hide behind this rock. He needs some suppressed fire. He's going to be able to restabilize, but we see the sniper tower to the right of complexity usually contested very early on.
Look, if there's a team that needs to do incredibly well, it is also going to be Complexity coming into this. They need to make a statement. That's going to be Luxferdy, Shiny, Monsoon, and honestly, I believe a couple of these teammates played in Clara's Legends last night where they were also getting that IGL guidance provided by a female Apex Legend grinder. So really exciting to see, but they want to make a showing, and what better way to do it by taking out NRG at the very start of map number 1. You can see that Loba ult in the distance just went down from Guild. They probably need to get some shield cells and some utilities because they are getting inundated.
Yeah, what's great here with that Loba is now they can be able to get the loot that they need to help reset without putting themselves in a very vulnerable position where Complexity is looking to their backs right now. I highlighted Complexity in our last broadcast when Paula asked me who my top 3 squads were to look at, and Complexity was definitely in that conversation now, being able to try to perform to their best potential. This is a squad that really needs to come out because they did not have the ideal day 5 that they wanted to rock with.
Yeah, and you mentioned that they're currently sitting in 8th place overall with 52 points, which is 1 point shy of that 9th place spot. So no one in this little bubble is safe here. So they want to have that standout performance. And honestly, they're already looking to be kind of kitted out with some decent weapons. Now, every time I look at a team and I see that level 1 backpack, I just start to cringe a little bit inside because I'm like, how can I get everything that I want and need in my level 1 backpack? I need at least that blue backpack, right? Like my favorite times are when the purple backpack is in the crafter.
Absolutely, I have to agree with her, especially when it comes to managing your loot that you got to work with here. Obviously, right now, with Furia getting involved in a fight currently, let's hold that thought. Gold Evo Shield on the hands of Pander, so he's going to be able to reset just as quickly, but his Watson having to back away, popping that shield back, popping the med kit, and looking to get invited in another fight. And this is the squad that we were talking about that gets incredibly aggressive, but CLG are playing at a disadvantage, losing out on Nano.
Ooh, and Mamba taking a lot of damage here on that Mad Maggie. Maybe going to be able to grab that banner. Does do that. You need to disengage at this moment because you're already at that disadvantage, like you said. But Furia, not one to shy away from the aggressive nature. If they see you're at a disadvantage, they are going to take it. His Watson, one of those really hungry, aggressive fraggers. And on Bangalore now, I just feel like he's finding strides, right? We saw Bangalore become popular in the EMEA region at first, and now it's kind of made its way to North America paired with the Bloodhound and another Valkless comp. This is what I like to see.
Yeah, it's always really exciting to kind of get that refresher when we talk about these different compositions. It's not so exciting for Mamba, who is not only the only last member of CLG left, but as the Mad Maggie, not the best ideal solo rat play to work with. You won't have the information that the Heartbeat Sensor would provide if you were instead left on Seer here, or even the repositioning ability that the Valkyrie would provide. Hopefully we get to tune in to see where Mamba ends up rotating here. 19 squads still in this lobby as Furia are still claiming this building. I love how you mentioned the Valkyrie-less composition. Seeing the Bangalore and Bloodhound make their rounds here a lot more. I believe we have 3 Bangalores in this lobby, Season being another one, but not utilizing the Bloodhound. They're still rocking the Valkyrie and Seer. At G2 being the other one aside from Furia, still using that Bloodhound and Bangalore alongside the Horizon.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I feel like if you're going to bring Bangalore out, you need to pair it with a scan legend, whether that's Bloodhound, whether that's Seer, whether that's Crypto. You can kind of utilize the Bangalore smokes, pop Crypto's drone out in it, and you've got that, believe it's like a 15 or 30 meter radius of which you'll get the scans on the enemies nearby. Watson, just changing out the Evo shields. Which one does he like better? Which one's maybe going to be leveled up to a red Evo shield quickly? But you get a good feedback of where that zone is pulling Vicky and that upper left hand of your screen. But look at the big names that are starting to kind of collapse in that dead center. TSM, NRG still holding that skyhook choke point. I'm really excited to see kind of where this is going to go next.
Yeah, I like to follow up on that too, because C9 took control over that building from the very beginning when they saw it was a beacon building. It was going to try to get highly contested, basically forcing Heck to actually move on the other side of the train tracks, with TSM now coming in from the south side of that same building that we're highlighting. But this works into C9's playstyle with their team composition. Talking about the Watson, talking about the Crypto right now. This is the composition that you want to settle down inside these buildings, but I don't expect the circle to continuously pull in that direction. I am expecting it to get way closer to where energy is actually placed in the mouth of that tunnel that leads into Skyhook.
Very interesting. And TSM just on the outskirts of this cliff, kind of in the dead center of the zone. And you don't really have that legend composition that's going to allow you to maybe fence this area up. You don't have the Newcastle ultimate that can really solidify or anchor a position. So you're kind of going to get poked from all the different teams that are rotating out of Fragment West coming into that area. And right now there's about 2 teams that are making their way through Fragment. And you can see they've got their eyes on Verholst, who's getting tagged up right now, and this is not a time to go out. If you go out in 19th place, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they did it. They did get a 0 on their first map of the day on match day 4.
Yeah, it's the fact that there's 19 squads left, and that first squad to go down was Dark Zero. We were talking about other teams and their placement at the time, but the fact that Dark Zero is the first squad to go down is not the start that you want when you're sitting on that bubble between top 10 and whether you make it into land or whether another squad overtakes your position right now. And TSM walking away with 2 KP to their name means that they are out for blood with their positioning here too. You can see the pings going down. They don't have that crypto, so they can't just see where the squads are in the area other than using the heartbeat sensor from reps and them trying to strave off any sort of damage from the squad that's trying to rotate from the construction building.
Yeah, and you jump on over to this nice little free cam shot from our observers and see the plethora of Watson fences that Sykes has put up from Team Liquid. We talk about kind of controlling space in Apex Legends, and I just feel like Team Liquid is trying to control a large portion of this zone, which is really cool because there's this tunnel just to the northeastern side of them that's going to push out. And if you can control this area and you've got a charge rifle in the hands of Fun, I mean, what more could you ask for?
And this is such a good spot for Team Liquid to hold too, because not only are they negating the rotation of the squads that want to rotate away from Skyhook, as you can see in the mini-map on the top left corner right here, there's 3 squads, tripods included in this conversation like we highlighted in the pre-show, in trying to rotate away from Skyhook. Bots are already holding that other choke point by the railroad tracks, and we know that in the other rotation direction, leaving Skyhook, it's going to be held by Energy. So 3 squads already trying to cut off any sort of rotation from the teams that are forced to get out from the Skyhook area, and that's why we're probably going to be seeing some skyward dives soon in this next circle.
Let's go here.
Yeah, and that you mentioned it earlier, Beacon is going to be absolutely mission critical with so many chokeholds forming inside this circle. It's going to be one of those moments where it's like you're going to have to fight forward while maintaining and watching your 6. And sometimes in a lot of these listen-ins, you'll hear it. I want you to watch our back. Do not take your eyes off our back line of sight. And jumping on over to Season. Season needs to have a standout performance here today. They're currently on the cusp, currently sitting in 11th place with 50 points, and they are just being poked and prodded from every single direction. And with this circle being so open, how do you survive? Claim breaking out the Bangalore smokes to really get to cover and heal up.
Literally breaking it down right now here too. They're hiding behind these smoke grenades, but we know with so many other Bangalores in the lobby that there's probably digi-threats out and about that a lot of these other players are going to be able to utilize. You see some cars too. Kenny having that car but doesn't have that digi-threat to work with, playing off the other side of the rock, but this sets Season up in the line of sight of the likes of Team Liquid. C9 inside the building. Heck, on the other side of this, Furia now have made their rotation into the mouth of this tunnel, and I believe there's a squad behind Energy, so Energy have to get out of that positioning right now, or they could find themselves getting sandwiched.
That is not going to be what you want, and I'm just really curious to see how it's going to go. And now looks like Furia's in a little bit of a scuffle. Zera also taking it down onto Nathan as well. Let's go ahead and jump into a quick listen in with Furia presented by WD Black.
You hear me?
It's a different level, yeah.
I'm trying to farm this choke right now.
Yeah, you go ahead. You have the range for it.
They're walking out.
Yeah, times we need you.
I'm gonna smoke here.
Scanning.
Okay, that's all you want. I'm batting. There's a gen on their
I'm
right.
ulting and swinging right.
There's still 2 over here, I think.
A team landed. Never mind, we're good.
Is there?
There's a team here.
I can scan too. Give me a sec.
Is there
Yeah, there's a
someone
team still right. There's still a team right.
They went to the
No,
choke.
that team's gone.
They went
Oh,
to
they're
the
gone.
choke.
Is there still a team there, Ken?
No. I'm gonna go.
I'm looting. He's can tunnel.
I got a rampage.
They level up it.
I'm gonna peek this. Can we peek this up here?
I'm
We're
down
gonna have to clear this rock. We have to clear this rock side.
Let's go this way.
Yeah, I'm down to play front of the building.
I'm just trying to look.
Never mind. Enemy over there.
I'm holding our tunnel side
Where?
because
Well, over there. Okay, we should go then.
Voltex are here. We're going.
All right, I'm coming. I need that ult cell.
Yeah, we should close that out.
Ult selling.
Me and him are gone. a little
Alright,
ahead.
I can scan for you then.
We're a little bit ahead.
They're right here. I can bang with them. Through it.
I just heard the EMP.
Tossing nades down there. I had no scan for this.
On the rock, on the rock.
Yeah, I'm swinging it.
I got him.
Almost cracked one.
Swing this.
I need to heal.
Yeah,
You're good.
Swinging Watson.
Got one down.
Nice.
I need you back.
I'm subs on me. Just grab the armor stop.
I'm just chilling. Thirsting these guys.
My pit's almost red.
Watch our backs. Can you stand behind us?
Yeah.
I don't know what that tunnel team's doing. They might have heard us fight.
Purple bot line here.
All right, sounds good. TSM taking out NRG and Furia, decimating that team, and you can just hear how aggressive his Watson is. Okay, I'm ready to fight, push in, and they start with the bangle, bringing in that rolling thunder, coupling it out. Vicky, you mentioned it while we were just kind of watching that, listening. That Prowler with the Digi threat coupled with the Bangalore smokes, I mean, textbook.
Yup, and it's the fact that it's the Gold Prowler too. One of my favorite weapons to utilize, and what better way to combo it with the Bangalore as E8 now make their appearance into this choke point. They get the knock with the G7 currently. Furia are still playing inside the smoke, and with the alley-oop on the gravity lift, you can see as Watson take it to the skies. Furia trying to take control over this rooftop, but they are in the line of sight with so many other teams in the area.
Yeah, I kind of like to refer to this building as Grandma's house for some reason, and there is a battle at Grandma's, and there is no cookies around, but Furia has taken to the roofs, and I want to kind of highlight, remember we were talking about this building being fought for with HEC? Well, they're across the ring and have the best positioning, and speaking of positioning, TSM from the low ground is able to get the cheekiest of angles onto Furia, throwing a lot of damage, but inundated with Arc Stars, forced to reposition themselves. But Hal and Verhulst, they're not taking any damage.
But Hal comes out here with another grenade knockout here. Furia only having his Watson left and up and live. The Crypto EMP comes out and he drops right into the line of sight of Bots and Team Liquid. He's in a lot of trouble, but he's got this Rampage all wrapped up. We highlighted the Thermite and what's in your pack, and he's got that Rampage charge up. He gets Team Smiley out of this lobby. Tripods go down. They can't get through that choke point that Team Liquid is holding, and his Watson is in a lot of trouble, but he's dancing through these little pylons. You see the death box actually just land right at his feet. Let's see if he can try to get Zara up and about.
Oh, this is going to be super cheeky. I think he's going to do the moment. He's going to go ahead and drop a shield for his teammate and go ahead and try to get that reset while so much other chaos is happening. TSM on the underside of the building, just on the south side, and they're doing incredibly well with at least 6 KPs available to them and 7 squads remaining. This is the reason why they have found so much success in this group matchup, and they are just doubling down.
Yeah, sharing the belly of this building with Furia and TSM right now. You mentioned 7 squads left. We got Bots still up in this lobby. MPS, E8, Team Liquid, Furia, TSM, and HEC, who were sharing the other side of that railroad tracks. Furia, though, his Watson losing out on that shield, needed to back up to pop this shield battery.
Oh, lots of damage coming out from Reps, the lone mouse and keyboard player on TSM, and they are just ready to eat. I feel like this team is finally finding its footing. I don't know what it is about this group matchup that TSM is able to just come out on top consistently, but I need more of this because we are looming down the time with Split 1 playoffs at hand, and TSM really wants to get themselves another LAN victory. That exhibit coming out from TSM is going to give them all of the information, and the fact that MPS is now on the roof. They have that Newcastle wall from the hands of Pow Pow up as well to really give them just a smidge of cover. And now here you see it, that Loba tactical coming out. So you got to reposition. That zone is going to start closing and they're going to have to move.
Yeet that bracelet, but into the line of sight of TSM, into their open arms now as they play through this southern side of the circle, but they're in the line of sight of HEC. MPS now cleaning things up. The Newcastle helping them get some extra cover. Can they get this res here? I'm Madness popping the shield back.
Oh, this is going to be mission critical. 6 squads remaining, but there's so many teams left in a small zone. My question is, who's going to be able to take Godspot towards the end? HEC, they were on the other side of the railroad track, look to be in a little bit of a detrimental situation. They have to push up on Bots and take over them. And I feel like Bots is not a team that I want to face in an isolated 3v3, but Enemy steps up to the plate, takes them down, and they are rewarded with a little bit of cover from that rock so they can get stability.
Time to make your eyes water when it comes to that RE45 and disruptor shots that come out of that weapon here too. And Team Liquid, with their patience paying off, have the big mod R301 to work with here too. You can see Nocturnal holding that nice off angle. And with the information from the Seer, they're gonna know that it's only his Watson that is a solo playing behind that crate. They know it's a rat, but they're not gonna give up this position, also understanding that HEC is holding their left angle.
And this is where Apex kind of becomes like a chess match, right? Yes, you know there's a rat over there, but you have to fully int. You're going to give up your kind of center zone positioning, and HEC is going to utilize that time to full send Team Liquid. So the question is, who's going to be able to get that advantage? Because you know his Watson is no stranger to 1v3 scenarios, and Team Liquid is going full on.
Oh, they want it. They want his Watson. He sends down the smoke, though. They don't claim him as a member. He actually goes into the line of sight of HEC. So that's going to be one extra KP going in favor of HEC. Nice tracking right there to destroy the drone, destroy the EMP potential. And now Team Liquid have free reign over putting down that Seer ult since it was already used up by the EMP.
Look, we talked to some of our teammates, and they have practice in arenas, and that's a strict 3v3 fight, and that's exactly what you're getting here in match number 1 as Team Liquid is trying to get some angles up high against HEC, and Fun falls. That means that you're going to have Nocturnal and Psych step up to the plate, Vicky.
You can hear the RE45 blaring through the rest of the lobby. Team Liquid, though, come out on top, and they take care of HEC. Your winners for game number 1 here on World's Edge.
Look, if Hodsick isn't impressed with that, I don't know what's going to do it. Hodsick, are you happy now? We are kicking it off with a Team Liquid victory here when it matters the most. This is the last 3 match days of the regular season leading down to Split 1 playoffs, and they're trying to unseat TSM from the top of the leaderboard.
And what a beautiful way to do it, too. We talk about their patience and how it pays off when they call out these final circle positioning. They negated any sort of rotation from the squads that needed to exit out of Skyhook, that wanted to approach from the north side of Fragment West, while also being able to put in a lot of extra pressure and damage to bots that were holding the mouth side of the tunnel that leads into the train tracks. HEC, who also held the other side of the train tracks on the high ground on the north side of Fragment West from the very beginning. Very nice performance here from Team Liquid, and also understanding when they needed to fully set it onto HEC at the very end.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the moments where you need to realize the realization of what is at stake here. And Rain Day, I'd be excited to hear your thoughts. Welcome back after an epic match number 1. Team Liquid on top.
They certainly are, and I love the phrase you coined. I'm going to use it all the time. Hodzik, are you happy? And more like Hodzik, are you happy now? Because Team Liquid have started out the only way you would hope for. Knowing him, he's still giving them some notes on how they should have picked up the KP on his Watson, though. That's for sure. Tiff, take a little break. I'll bring Vicky back in. We're going to handle the next game and a little bit of analysis here after game 1. But Vicky, you were there casting it. It was HEC who looked strong from the beginning, but it got down to his Watson holding it down for Furia, ended up in 3rd. And of course, Team Liquid taking the win. A great start for them. And they're answering already some questions we had of, is this going to be their day where they kind of go toe-to-toe? They take the 2nd win overall and tie TSM, tie teams like Ascend, and say we are one of the top 3 teams in the world.
Literally, though, they've been one of the most consistent squads that we've had in North America. And I'm really glad that you highlighted Furia. Getting 3rd place right there guarantees them some extra KP in terms of placement. But they also had a lot of KP that they were working with. We saw them fully send it down onto some teams. We saw how aggressive his Watson was. And even being the last one alive to outlive TSM in the middle of that final rotation outside of what Tiff calls it, the grandma's building. No cookies around here. Nothing to smell. Nothing to get hungry about. But his Watson is always hungry about some extra KP that you could pick up.
You know, I saw a movie Violent Night last night, and actually Milk and Cookies, Grandma's house, and a lot of people going down essentially in terms of some gunfire around. It makes sense when you call it that way after what I just saw. Weird take on a Christmas movie, but at the end of the day, it's very much more like an Apex scene because we did see a lot of fighting there. We saw a lot of knocks happening, and throughout the game, we saw a lot of action, and that's kind of Furious style. That's the way that they've been approaching this type of tournament. We saw it with Vexed earlier this morning, where they just said, we are going to fight. We are the best edge fighting team. We're the best team fighting team. That's our advantage. So let's lean into it. We don't need to go and sit in zone and waste our talent. And that's exactly what Furia did to kick this one off.
Yeah, we also saw the early action of Dark Zero being the first squad to go down, and with HEC getting 2nd place, this is great news for HEC. The same cannot be said, though, about Dark Zero, unfortunately, because they're sitting in the bubble of the top 10 squads, and if they aren't going to perform today, then they're going to be risking themselves and not performing in the lane.
That is not one thing you want to risk at all heading into what will be a very missed event. It's going to be a lot of sadness if you are close but not there, as that is the exclusive party in terms of any competitor's dream that you want to attend. Fashionably late does not work when it's LAN time. You've got to be right on time, and you've got to get it done within the numbers. Furia certainly in a lot of these. It was also HEC, a team that formerly Atlanta Premier, now representing themselves, obviously looking for representation. I mean, they had a really good showing too. I think they had at least 15 points here, and it was MBS too that kind of put a stop to what could have been a TSM win, Vicky, if they didn't get taken down here.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though TSM did get taken down right before that circle push in, you could see the KP that they were working with. They felt very confident with the way that they were able to hold the back end corner of that southern circle. And obviously his Watson here frying squads, frying FPS with that revved up rampage. It's always so nice to see, but that noise that rampage makes always puts fear in my bones.
Oh yeah, it is. And it's not everyone's favorite weapon, which is interesting. A weapon that's so powerful, yet not everyone's cup of tea. I like that even more than anything. 30-30 repeater may be the case there, except the G7 has obviously become a little bit stronger there. The R99, it's rare to see that in use nowadays, considering the car has always taken the front pole position. But speaking of that, that belongs to Team Liquid. But narrowly, HEC had such a good game, Vicky, that coming into second, they're only 1 point behind with 9 kills, 18 points total. Furia with that 7 points from placement of his Watson surviving till third, and the 5 kills will tally him up to 12. Team Smiley will round it out as Tripods also in 9th place. We'll get it. Cloud9, a few points. That's a good start. And TSM also 11 points. They will actually be ranked 4th at the end of it, Vicky.
Yeah, that's what their AKP too. That's why we were highlighting TSM being so good at making sure that the other squads rotating from the southern part of the map were having a lot of trouble into getting up to that north side. And as we take a look at the second page, the squads that didn't do so hot, we were talking about Energy early on. Yeah, they were able to secure that KP, and they also were able to secure a nice position in that tunnel that exits out of Sky to the south side. But they also found themselves in a pinch situation between Furia and another squad that wanted to try to force their way out of the rotation from Skyhook.
You know, this is what Matafe was saying earlier. He was saying, listen, if you survive and get, I think, top 8, that's like 3 points, right? Or you just literally land and win a team fight and get 3 points. For us, it's way easier for us to get a team fight win and those 3 points there than making it to top 8. And right now, you see NRG has put themselves in a top 10 position. I like this. I like getting high KP, even if you go down early and you're not going to get that zone, recognizing it, getting aggressive, and then putting yourself in a position to win. I think 5 to 9 points is okay, especially if you're not winning. And then you set yourself up to have that big win, Vicky, that ultimately can put you into the driver's seat. All right, game 1 has ended. It was Team Liquid on top, HEC right behind, and a lot of high performers, including Furia and the rest of North America, getting ready for another showdown. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with game number 2.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Rain Day and Vicky Kitty here to cast game 2 and bring you into our day 7 of North America in the ALGS. We have just 2 more match days to go after this, Vicky. Day 8, then day 9, then we're going to have our regional final, and maybe a good overview for people who are watching just to kind of get a landscape, kind of top down of why this is so important. If you don't make top 20, you're not going to be in the regional final. In the regional final, you're not guaranteed a spot at LAN. It's still based on the top 10 of points that you have earned throughout the season. So wins here throughout day 6, 7, that's all counting. But the big kicker is this. If you're in the top 20, you get a chance to win. If you win the regional final, you could be 19th coming in there. You could be 20th coming in there. You still go to LAN alongside the other top 9 point holders throughout the overall season. So, Vicky, getting top 20, that's everything. That's what these teams are fighting for. And that's why this day means so much, to stay in the running to be able to be in that final.
That's why I emphasize the placement of G2, Tripod, C9, CLG. CLG and C9 at the moment, before this day, are sitting outside of the top 20. CLG's in 21st, C9's in 22nd. So we know that there's a lot on the line for these squads. And if they do perform way better than they have been in the previous days, then you have to look at the likes of Tripods, making sure that they can also keep themselves in discussion in this top 20. And it's a lot here to discuss when it comes to even Dark Zero being the first team to drop in that first game lobby. That's a lot here, because can you imagine a squad being so close to making it into LAN and then unfortunately dropping out because they have a lackluster performance in the final few days?
And can you imagine moving all the way from Australia to compete into North America and then not qualifying for LAN because you're going through North America? That is Dark Zero's nightmare. I don't think it's going to happen. They're playing too well. Jim Burton was on fire yesterday at Casted Tournament. He was on as well. And I think that they're going to bounce back. But you're right. We haven't seen that same Dark Zero that we see at LAN necessarily online. But, you know, there's counters to that too, Vicky. A lot of people have kind of brought up the criticism, which is fair. Hey, you know, Dark Zero were never in the lead in terms of points when they won those tournaments. They won match point, but they didn't overall consistently score higher than some of these other teams. Remember, Furia took way many more points and were actually number 1 in the overall leaderboard. So there's a fair conversation on both sides. Is Dark Zero really just a great LAN team, a great clutch team, but they haven't put it together in terms of an overall marathon of matches in NA? We might be seeing that, but let's, as you kind of comment on that, let's go ahead and look at the final circle that happened here. We run some tape while we get ready. Lobby just getting ready to go for those watching. But yeah, Vicky, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love how you talk about the mindset in LAN and the squads that feel way more comfortable on LAN, because it's not like the comfort of your home, you know? You're literally performing on a stage in front of an audience, and some players may not feel comfortable like that. A team that definitely performed very well but wants to consistently stay on top is Team Liquid. You're winners of game number 1 today right now. Your team that also was able to top the overall leaderboard in their previous day of competition. In day number 5, they finished with 60 points, 1 point difference between themselves and Space Station, but that was a day that they didn't take a W. So already starting things off in a way better footing is Team Liquid right now, taking this first win.
And you can see here how they took it, the approach to go for the solo. It was a risky one, especially you could see on the Bangalore smokes. It just made it very difficult to go into that area, and Crook was able to get it. But I think it was a better play for Liquid because they wanted to just get Watson out of there. They didn't quite know exactly what was going to happen there, but they certainly didn't want Watson to be a nuisance in their 3v3 fight, and I think that was very smart. Here, though, I think the biggest play was Nocturnal actually shooting out that EMP, because if he had not shot the EMP, it would have been lights out. I think you would have seen HEC push immediately off of that, and then they didn't have time to use it. It wasn't off cooldown, so really big plays from Nocturnal. Little things done well. And like we were joking, are you happy now, Hot Sig? I feel like you can't be upset with that team fight.
Yeah, I'm actually so glad that you highlighted the EMP, because something to know, obviously, is that EMP will delete the Seer ult. So nice timing from Team Liquid to call out that information. Well, my tracking was on point with the R31. I deleted the EMP before it was actually able to be unleashed, which is not only the green light for us to close in the gap between ourselves and our positioning into where HEC was, but also to put down that Seer ult to have all that extra information for the very end.
I love the way that we're seeing, you know, so many teams throw knockout punches. It's not like jabs here in North America in terms of, you know, boxing vernacular. It's really getting some uppercuts and some heavyweight hits that mean one team first staggering blow in Liquid, we might see TSM bounce back. We might see, and I've kind of mentioned this in a tweet earlier, will this be NRG? Will this be Furia? Will this be Dark Zero's day to kind of pop off and make a statement? That's who I really want to know. And Cloud9 too. I had, obviously it's a sensitive subject for me because I think Cloud9 has potential. They're a team you kind of want to do better. You feel like they should do better. But with this lineup, it's technically unproven, right? We've got to see if they can put together a string of wins that get them confidence heading into the back half of these last 2 days and in a position to even be in that regional final. So I think Cloud9 starting off with about 5 points in the top 10 here, that's a good sign for them moving forward, Vicky.
I'm really glad that you bring that up too, Rain Day, because a tweet that, Stay Naughty actually put out just recently, I believe it was last night, was that his biggest day of his career is today for this match day, and they don't want to fumble any more bags out here. It's kind of a do or die situation for C9, so they want to bring their best for the day today because they need to perform so that way they could be in that top 20 spot.
C9 has had so many interesting roster swaps. It's like, it's a puzzle piece, but it's not a puzzle piece. It's one of those puzzles where you got to move one piece and then it unlocks the piece down below that you can slide, and then you can slide that back and forward. You know the picture puzzles that are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
I love those. I love those.
I love those too. They're super fun. You basically just go up, left, right. I don't know. I figured it out one day in bed when I was beating my girlfriend at now fiance at it so badly. She was like, "How do you do that?" It's like, that's what it is, babe. I'm that good. I'm that smart. You got to take those moments when you can. But yeah, I feel like it has been a puzzle for them because, it started with having Zach and then you had the swap with Alberlelli. You had Noct, you had Verholz with ESA. They switched places and you ended up having kind of an ultimate rise for both of those players, so it felt good. Then Alberlelli, he leaves, goes and joins Snipe Down on FaZe, and now they're trying to figure their things out. We get Stay Naughty, we have Rocker coming obviously from NRG. NRG picks up Gildersons. That is where Liquid needs to fill in a spot, and I think that leads me to, yes, of course it's going to be tough for Cloud9, but where does that end? Sykes coming in onto Liquid. The performance that this player has had jumping into this team, who is clearly a top 5 team, I think, in the world. We can look at their performances and say that. Talk about that, Vicky, the pressure, but also handling it so well and showing up.
Yeah, and the fact to be a kind of a mainstay piece on the team and be able to adapt so well, Sykes individually as a player, is such a heavy fragger. I think in that first game alone, we saw Sykes with 5 KP, and with Team Liquid taking the W with a total of 7 KP, that means that he was able to clean up really well with the rest of the squad. So the fact that Sykes has been able to be on Team Liquid and still perform so well and be as consistent as he can be, I love talking about some of these highlight players and their story, because aside from the fact that obviously they're playing together as a team, it's their individual talent that we love to actually accentuate here, because it really does show how they're able to adapt on different rosters with different weapon loadouts, depending on different legends and different compositions that they're trying to use.
Well, I have so much to say about it, and it is going to pivot on Liquid, but we'll be able to cast this next game shortly. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get the lobby settled and ready to go. When we come back, Game 2. Thanks for your patience. We'll see you in a bit. Well, I'm a big fan of what we have seen so far in the ALGS. North America is a symphony. It's a high drama. It's not quite Shakespeare, but I will say that it's fun. It's a fun tale of a lot of strong personalities. Vicky Rain Day here alongside Vicky Kitty as we are getting ready to go into game 2. Thank you so much for your patience. We were just getting that lobby ready to go. And as we do, and we'll send the word whenever we get the word that we're ready to hop in there. You had talked about Sykes coming in, Vicky, and I thought that was an incredible point. And one of the things that I always bring up when we talk about Liquid is the coaching structure of Liquid. And I think that we've seen it with Raven, who's a 2-time winner now in terms of the Pro League day. You can see the results, obviously earning the checks there coming from that position. Hodzik as well, getting them a win, maybe the most consistent placement team overall. But here's where I think coaches also have another thing. The culture of a team oftentimes is defined by maybe a star, but also the coach. And that's how you can slot in great talented players into a system, into fundamental ways to play together. You don't have to just have 3 guys take a stab at it and see if they have synergy. You have a real leader. You have a real organized structure, and that allows you to bring talent in and out a lot easier, like we see in soccer, like we see in basketball, like we see all over the world in most sports. So again, I'm just getting on my high horse here. I love coaches. I think we need to see more and more of them, Vicky, but of course that keeps developing here as we get into Apex and more teams pick up on them.
Absolutely. Got to second that while we jump into game number 2. Once again, guys, thank you so much for your patience. We are ready to go after that clean win from Team Liquid. You highlight coaches, and I have to 100% agree with you, Rain Day. I want to be able to see way more coaches in the competitive Apex space because we see how important they are as a role for a lot of our squads to find some of the success, to change things up, even if the individual players are as talented as they are.
Also, just want to make sure that we shout out the comment here asking, why don't all these casters wear turtlenecks? I agree. We should all do a turtleneck day, Vicky. And I heard you wore one last week. I got mine this week. I got this because I was going to Atlanta. It was cold and it's wintertime. And sometimes you just got to have a turtleneck in the rotation. You know how it is. Important things. As we
especially since I was rocking that look last time. I had some comments saying I look like the Rock. Well, you know what? I'm looking at Rocket, so yeah, that's how it's gotta work. Okay, Rain Day. Now it's your turn out here. Well, we tune into Team Liquid here too, the squad that likes to land over on the west side of Skyhook. They're coming out with some great loot. My favorite composition actually when it comes to the weapon loadout is to rock that G7 with the car. Something that we haven't actually talked about is what's in the replicator today, and we got that 3 times HCOG scope out here, as well as the purple standard stock, as well as the purple knockdown shield, which works into the squads that love rocking the Newcastle and the Scorpions. That's actually going to be coming out in the next bundle. So actually, it's the knockdown shield and the mobile respawn beacon that's actually in the replicator for today since it's Sunday.
Ooh, since it's Sunday, big day around the globe. As we follow along with Team Liquid, who have kicked things off here, we have a zone that's pulling now to our southeastern side. NRG love to play this high ridge over Harvester on their rotations. We see them in this position quite often, and that is due to arriving from staging, where for the most part they land and have been looking to have a lot of success. Can they get closer to the team that they are pursuing right now? Certainly going to have some shots at it. But how far do they want to take this? Soon they will be running into another team, and Dark Zero actually right behind them. So they got to make it count. Gildersons finds Hill. This is HEC. This is a big deal because HEC, one of the points leaders here, they go down. That opens up space for some movement for NRG to crank into that top 5 where they so desperately want to be.
This is amazing for NRG. They're keeping up their momentum and trying to play as aggressive as they can now into game number 2. And with HEC losing out on that 1 member, now make it 2 with enemy dropping down. They are out for blood. I mean, they got the evil shields to work with. They may have that limited ammunition, but that's just because they went for the quick rotate outside of staging.
Really interested to see if they can take this into the rest of the game, because NRG, I think they're a momentum team. When they start going, you just feel like it's unstoppable. They'll have 10, 13 kills heading into 6 squads left, saying, oh, okay, they finally have awoken. In fact, it was kind of comical watching Sweet tweet about his team's perspective. You know what he said? He said, how are we so bad and so good? It is a weird quandary that NRG finds themselves in. But having the self-awareness, I think, is a good sign, Vicky. They know what they need to improve on, and it seems like they're doing that each week.
And with the young legend guild here too, as Karasuno being the only squad to rock the Catalyst currently right now, Fury having to pop the Phoenix kit, getting in that skirmish that's happening over in Lava City, as we also get to see where the circle is going to be pulling. Karasuno fighting to take control over this beacon to ensure that they're going to deny that information to other teams in the area.
This Lava City zone is one of the more classic zones in World's Edge, and it is one of the most southern zones in World's Edge. Teams will have to make their way, but there's a notable trio, and I am including tripods in that are well outside the zone as of now, unlike the teams that you're watching on your screen, E8, who are sitting inside one of the highlighted buildings. Team Liquid, Furia, tripods, all on the northwestern side, still making their way and going to be facing kind of an edge fight. And in fact, Furia and Liquid may run into each other here in the near future as well. So some teams who maybe traditionally like to set up, going to be finding themselves in a different situation. That's Liquid. And Furia obviously going to be very, very comfortable running into this fight a little bit late.
Love how you highlight that too, because when you talk about some of the squads that are making these longer rotations that don't have a Valkyrie on the squad, you talk about Furia. Of course, I talked about it with Tiff earlier on in game 1, but this is a squad that doesn't have the potential chance of using the Skyward Dive because they're using the Bangalore, the Horizon, and Bloodhound instead. So playing on the edge of the circle while making their rotation with a circle that's going to be pulling probably towards Lava City, it's going to be difficult with so many squads that are rocking the Watson, looking to make sure that they settle down inside these buildings. That's why I also highlighted how important it is for Karasuno to hold that high ground right now. C9, though, losing out on Zach means that they won't have the information that they need to scan the beak without overextending. And Nutty's literally running in every single direction, even his pathway blocked by the Catalyst.
Nutty in, well, not the best position here. Have just himself, 2 teammates around. Round 1 about to close. We still see G2, HEC, and Liquid tripods as well on the outskirts. Fury have made their way in. NRG in Lava Siphon, and Cloud9 with just 3 points. Naughty saying, this is the day I've got to go beast mode. I've got to make it happen. This is a make or break moment. With only 2 more days to play, all of these points really set up. Really allowing you to say, okay, well, how far can I get before I've got to take my final shot at this? I'd rather be a lot closer to the hole than have to try to make a hole in one.
I heard that drop, the audio of a player dropping from the high ground. You see C9 just left with Naughty to look around to see who's going to try to contest them. They got 13th in the first game. And like I mentioned before, looking at Naughty's tweets, he's looking to try to put in a dent for today. G2 now on the tail end of another squad that's right in front of them. Another squad that's also not rocking the Valkyrie. Very similar composition to Fury currently right now. G2, very heavy fragging team right now. And it's enemy that gets taken down over by the Harvester side. HEC feel like they cannot catch a break here.
Tough spot for them. It started poorly with NRG. It got even worse with G2. Chaotic Design and Resulta working together as a trio. The new G2, after disappointment, obviously, in Sweden, not getting the results that they wanted, I believe not making it into the winners match point final day, and then not qualifying for championships, having to attend in the stands. It was a wake-up call for Designful, Resulta, and at that point, Gentrifying, who had been considered really one of the top teams in North America, controller gods, players who had built a terrifying kind of reputation around them, is almost terrified there because of the Arc Star. And you can see now, though, still finding their rhythm and trying to incorporate Chaotic into a squad that maybe will look a little bit less like the G2 of old, and maybe like maybe a more structured G2 that it doesn't play on as much passion, but adds a little bit more, of that final circle tact that you need in order to be a top team.
Oh, they are chasing after Crook. Well, I know we've all been here, guys, when it comes to our own respective Apex games, and Crook is like, leave me alone. G2 is not going to let this free KP get away from them, especially when it's a Crypto. But the fact is, Crypto doesn't have that mobility. He's trying to break their ankles. He hears a gravity lift, and it's just a matter of time before G2 finish HEC. And there you have the HEC, the first squad to meet their makers, to go right back to the lobby after having a pretty nice performance in that first game, landing themselves in second.
Well, G2 already getting some KP. Like we mentioned, that's not a bad way to start. You get 1 point between 10th and 15th place in terms of placement. So just 1 kill, maybe 2 or 3. That's the same thing as basically making right above top 10. Dark Zero already set up. Is this on the backside? No, this is, yes, on the backside of Lava Siphon, but it looks like this circle could end and will end in Lava City. And so they're going to have to move. They do have the nice little setup, though. And it's really against NRG, who they're staring at, who are at Lava Siphon. BR Demons have flown in. That's who you saw Sharky acknowledge right there with the longbow. And G2 is shortly coming behind NRG. So Dark Zero kind of holding down a barricade here, seeing, hey, we can get some KP. We're already in zone. We know they've got to move relatively soon. So let's see what we can get here.
What I really love to pinpoint right now, Rain, while Dark Zero is hanging out on the edge right here by the bridge, is Team Liquid's positioning and their rotation, exiting out of Trials, exiting out of Skyhook West. They made the roundabout rotation all the way from north, all the way south, rotating through the back end of launch site towards, between launch site and Lava Siphon, towards the back end north side of Dome. So the fact that they're playing on the edge like this while trying to stay out of trouble really does highlight that Team Liquid's trying to put themselves in a position where they know that the circle pulled really far away from them, so they know that they aren't going to be able to secure a building with the composition that they usually rock with. So instead, they're playing on the back end of things to see where the circle is going to be pulling, whether it's going to continuously pull towards Lava City and they hang out by the tunnel, or if it's going to pull maybe towards a north side between Big Mod and Lava Siphon on the bridge.
It's a great point. Similar position at the beginning of the game, but couldn't be any farther from each other. Furia, Liquid, and Tripods. Liquid on that south side, as Vicky had mentioned. Furia and Tripods on the north side now. Tripods barely making it in. In fact, could be a clash with Furia here. They're going to be sharing some very clear real estate. Tripods have to be careful. I know we're watching G2 right now, but might be an opportunity here to go to Tripods and Furia, see how they make it out of this one. Furia does know there are some shots, and I'm not sure they're going to let them get this one off. We know that they like to get into that fight, and this is the situation. They're in a building. Furia staring down at them. They've just made it into zone. But this is certainly something that Tripods are going to have to navigate if they're going to get to that top echelon. Nick Merckx, Deeds, gentrifying, taking bullets, firing right back there. Communication on this team, something I love to listen to, Vicky. They work really well together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love hearing what their next plan is going to be. Hopefully, we can maybe jump into a listen soon here. But while we do get that set up, Tripods pinging ahead to see the squad that's over in Lava Siphon. I want to know what their next move wants to be, because probably a Skyward Dive being one of the only options that they could work with out of this pinch situation, unless another squad tries to contest them for that northern side of the circle.
Uh-oh, CLG getting nearby as well. I can't imagine that Fury is going to let this last too much longer. There's the exhibit. They're going in. Something's going to happen here. It's going to be Tripods or Furia coming out of this. CLG, oh no, Season sneaking up behind too. Pay attention to that. As Furia goes into it, Panders in the Beast of the Hunt. He's going to have the scans, and look at Zeratricky. Oh, getting taken down by Klain from Season, and this is not what Furia expected. They ended up trying to push Tripods, but they lose Zera in the process. That's their horizon, and now it's up to his Watson and Panders, who's on the Bloodhound and the Bangalore, respectively, to try to make it out alive. Tripods got saved there.
That was the perfect example of showing what happens when you get a little too ahead of yourself, when you get a little too KP happy without looking to your backs right there. Season with a great timing on not only taking Furia's spot, but now putting Furia in a very bad situation, playing up the low ground, allowing Tripods to breathe, and maybe even getting themselves pinched if they don't get out of that situation.
Well, guess what? Tripods maybe narrowly missed having to go 3v3 against Furia, but they're not going to be able to miss playing this next zone. Let's listen in and see how they handle it.
Knocked one.
Nice.
Just one. Got it.
Nice. Can we kill this?
15
okay.
seconds.
I think we need to go right. We need to go right, guys.
Yeah, we do.
Go through bridge. Go through bridge.
Okay.
Come on. Let's go. We can drop down and kill her and walk in low, or we can just keep on playing far right.
No, we
She's
keep walking in. We can use this fence. We can use that fence. Use this fence to cross over. Like white fence on the left. Try and climb over there. Alright, go for it. You can fly back up.
I'm good. I'm looking across. There's nobody across. They're in this house on the right. Careful.
Yeah, I'm shooting. Blue and purple. The coffin team.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's good.
We gotta watch our left here.
Alright, I'm looking left. I need cells. I have 0 cells. Flat 0.
I have 5.
Okay.
Team in front, team in front. Trying to shoot, trying to get him off. Double blue, right in front. We gotta pressure them. Jumping down. We gotta watch this stuff. They can come up and...
I'm looking. They're right here.
Safe on me, full safe.
I'm on you.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm hard in this.
We're gonna move a little bit. Yeah, probably just drop down bottom left. Yeah, we're good. You're on me. You're fine.
Yeah, G safe spot.
I'm on you. I'm hitting my last medi.
Look, right. Look right here.
I'm looking.
Crack.
42. Flash on the seer.
Pulling that guy in the back. They're getting shot from the height. Look above.
I can all if you want.
Fire.
I'm gonna mech you here. Can we Valco?
Yeah.
Can we pull Valco here?
No, we just gotta chill.
Yeah, they're looking.
Don't let this team shoot you. Don't let this team focus you, because they focus us. Yeah, they're
Wait, they're
shooting.
shooting.
Wait, look at the fight. Yeah, look at watch the flash. Look at front. Lock 130. Lock dead. I'm pulling. We push that.
Dead. Critical dead.
Nice. Take that building.
I'm ulting this.
One new team.
Careful.
New team.
I gotta heal, Nick.
Okay.
Can you maybe
Heal up. You're good.
I'm trying.
I can't really go back to you. You can't. I'm trying to throw a vert.
Alright. You throw
We
your
can walk in on me. Yeah.
Alright, I'll come to you.
Oh no. I'm trying to get down here.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Are you full safe? Are you good?
Yep.
Yeah, he's full safe right now.
100 on Valk.
This is that team on the left.
100 on Valk. We have to stay bottom left. Don't let them walk towards us.
Yeah,
That team above you guys gonna try to look down, maybe.
I think they're walking up, bro.
What's flavor on our front?
Yeah, up top, above us. Careful. They're trying to peek.
I'm gonna keep taking space.
Okay.
We're good under the tracks too.
Okay, heard you.
I got his banner as well. Do you have crafting materials to craft the Moby?
No, 30.
Alright, there's people up here too.
Damn.
Wow, well, through the fire and the flames, that is where you will be brandished and find your vigor. It seems that has happened here, and it's only made Tripods more alive. Nick Merckx, under duress, turns around. It's about 120 with the with the 30-30 repeater, says, back off. I am safe. And it seems like that is exactly what Tripods was hoping for. They lost one in the process, but still good to survive that.
And it's crazy to talk about the circle that we were mentioning before here as Dark Zero finds some cracks, tries to pull out the RE45 to put in even extra pressure right now. They're playing off the back end of these rucks, but we have to talk about how Team Liquid definitely had such a great prediction on where this circle was going to be pulling. Now, it depends on what side of the tunnel they're going to be able to exit out of, because currently Dark Zero have not only circle control right here, but they're in a very great position as long as they can waver off any sort of pressure to their 6.
That's got to be close to where we saw Tripods last. They're on the other side of this rock, though. Dark Zero now going to get angles on everybody who is following in. Look at this. Tripods out. NRG out. That was just the zone of death right there. That one pulled just too fast. There was nowhere to hold, and it was Dark Zero who was ahead of the game anyway. So they were walking either into the zone or they were walking into the flat line of Zero. Meanwhile, things have settled here. G2, we talked about them and finding their synergy. This is where we want to see them show that extra bit of class. Can they put themselves above the rest? It will be difficult as Reeds, Vayne, and Aiden the Destroyer up on top. And Dark Zero right in front. G2 challenging here. Not afraid. Even with the Watson fences set up to go ahead and make some presence. And it's hurt Jin Burton there. Jin almost down, just narrowly hiding with the rock. The missile swarm might do enough. No, not enough. The Jin comes down just in time. Sharky saving Jin Burton and allowing the shield barrier to get off, Vicky.
Huge right now here for Dark Zero to actually pull that off here too. Over to the other side, you can see the fence line just being created behind them, making sure that they let other squads know that they've already taken up this space. I'm worried about the squads that maybe are still stuck in Lava City. If we could get an overhead on the map in general, yeah, this is the action that I was wondering what was going down over here, because we saw so many teams take up these buildings early on in the game. MPS getting some of these knocks. That's up to Team Liquid. 4 squads left as Team Liquid make their exit into that next lobby, and Take It to the Skies has got to be MPS now making the rotation into this next circle. But where do they land, Rain? Where do they go?
MPS looking like they might just cause some problems here, sitting in 13th overall. If they have a big game, which they seem to be having, and they have a big day, they might just be putting themselves in land qualification territory in terms of points. But as the dream begins, they wake up suddenly with a pinch And that is going to be almost all of MPS out. I think Madness maybe still alive, holding there as a solo, but his BR Demons up on top. Reeds firing along with the R301, the gold R301, and still down in the bottom. It is Dark Zero, excuse me, G2 and Dark Zero holding down. So we have MPS still as a solo. I believe it's Madness. Yes, it is. Can he get, oh, he can get his squad back up.
Oh.
Vicky, do they let this happen? I think Reeds, and they've got to look down on this.
They can look at this action, but they're not dropping down from this high ground. If they do, they're going to be put into a pinch situation between themselves with currently MPS on the other side, G2, that they're going to have them in their line of sight, and then obviously Dark Zero that are holding the other side of the rock with the fence lines too. So that's going to have to be BR Demon's priority right now, with MPS making sure that they can restabilize. They have been able to successfully waver off any sort of pressure from the BR Demons trying to get out of their line of sight.
Problem is BR Demons wanting to look down means that they put themselves in line of sight from G2 and of Dark Zero. So just the nature of the beast is that the bigger ones are helping to shield the smaller threat right now, who is right below MPS. So I guess their dreams are still alive. But who's going to move first? They will have to jump down. BR Demons cannot stay up there the entirety of the time, but where do they go? There's maybe free KP down below. If they see that that looks too good, they might just try to push it. There's a Newcastle wall also to play with, and so they might be able to use that. Otherwise, I think it's a switch over to Dark Zero, but those Watson fences, I don't think anyone wants to try to go through that. They're very, very set up, and Zero, Sharky, and Jin Burton not letting their eyes off as the zone now starting to close. 1 minute and 48 seconds as this thing slowly but surely will bring these teams together.
Gotta talk about it right now. 4 squads left, and there's no crypto in this lobby. The Beamage from Chaotic right now with his R301. He is finding all these cracks, but can he get the KP that they need right now? Nobody rocking the crypto means that nobody's gonna delete these fences that Dark Zero have created for themselves. They have all the space to work with that they've been able to build up thanks to this composition. You see a knock going down here as Dark Zero are gonna still take control over the high ground right now, but G2 are gonna send it out to Dark Zero.
Design trying to get something happening here. He changed his roster. Can they get the ultimate victory over the champions? The championship holders over the ones they couldn't even qualify for. G2 on the redemption tour. Will they be able from the high ground to take down Dark Zero? It's a lot to do though. MPS still alive, whether it's a solo, and I think it is going to be ultimately Dark Zero and G2 going at it. Dark Zero on the low ground. Chaotic Much ready to fly up. This is it. G2 hit some headshots. They lose one. Dark Zero goes up as well. And Jin Burton on the RE45. That is going to be tough to stop, but they'd lose another. And it's Dark Zero who come out on top here over G2 and take game 2 here in day 7.
What an immediate turnaround from Dark Zero. The squad to be the first one to go out in the lobby in game number 1 is the same squad to completely make a 180 and take game number 2.
Unreal, Tiff. I know you were watching as well. Your reactions, Dark Zero, we've been talking about. Are they really a good online team? Can they get the job done with that final win? Well, they just proved it there.
Look, there's a lot of teams that we have to ask, can they get the job done? And they are finding success here on the final round robin matchups. This is the last time we're going to see groups A versus B, and they are stepping up to the plate with such a nasty zone pull. And honestly, a lot of teams look to be really stressed out trying to make their way into that. But unfortunately, you know, not unfortunately, I guess, Dark Zero comes out on top. They did everything they needed to do, and they did it proper.
I mean, it's unfortunate for all the other teams, I think, Tiff. You were right in that regard. Yep. Everyone else was feeling pretty unfortunate. I know G2 as well, but it was good performances too, not just from Dark Zero, but from G2, but from MPS too, because they showed a lot of grit staying alive throughout that process. I thought they were down once, maybe 2 times, and then still the third time realized they're still up. So to snag a 3rd place there was great. And BR Demons too, on the high ground, really threatening. They helped make that push so difficult for teams like NRG, like Tripods, who were on that backside near the bridge, trying to make it in when the zone was pulling and just couldn't find a space to sit. BR Demons had already occupied the best spot there. So Vicky, there were some performances, I think, that tell us NA came ready to play today.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of the action between the second to last circle exiting out of Lava City, but we talked about the positioning of Team Liquid in the location of being inside of that tunnel and whether they made the right call on rotating outside of Lava City towards where we saw the circle pull, but it was so tricky and there was so much action from the squads that had to exit out of Lava City, but we're getting gate kept by the big mod choke point that it was difficult for Team Liquid to probably waiver off a lot of that pressure because we did see them go out, I believe, in 5th or 6th place, but I'm wondering how that KP fares against the rest of the lobby for our winners and the KP that we also saw G2 put down on the board.
I really like what we saw from all of those teams that you just mentioned, but you're right, Liquid making that choice to play on the outside, south, underneath Lava City. It didn't pull Lava City. That was maybe the biggest problem for them, so they had to rotate a little bit more to the left. At that point, G2 was already in that choke, and I think they hurt teams trying to come from that, and it really just made themselves that kind of southernmost facing team. But Tiff, a lot of action throughout the game here as we take a look at these highlights.
A lot of action indeed, and it's kind of tough, right? We had NRG and Harvester looming down the necks of HEC, which is kind of one of those major storylines that we've been talking about. It's those teams on the cusp. HEC coming in today in 9th place, tied with Dark Zero, who Dark Zero came into match number 2 with a fat donut, a 0, right? So to answer that back by winning their next game to keep them in contention is everything that they need to do. So a lot of teams stepping up to the bat right now, and you got bots. They were finding a lot of success here, unfortunately getting cut down, but Dark Zero, they came in, you can see right there, just at this point in the match, had brought themselves already up to 16th place. And this zone being so nasty, you saw Tripods and Nick Merckx just forced to jump off of the high ground and live their best life. That's one of those moments where it's like, you just have to play your life. And you saw that happen, Vicky, with that MPS, taking the skyward dive over the cliff and just going into the line of sight of every team over here.
Yeah, and after them coming on top of after that previous fight with themselves and Team Liquid, and something else that Rain and I were actually highlighting at the very end here was who was going to be able to delete those Watson fences that Dark Zero put out, because there was no crypto left in this lobby, no crypto in any of the last remaining squads composition, so it was difficult to be able to negate some of that extra space that Dark Zero basically built up for themselves.
Definitely going to be difficult to have a better performance in a tough circle like this than Dark Zero had. They were able to hold everyone down. It was a tricky fight too. They maybe had a weapon advantage as well, but once you go up and you don't come down, that should signify that things did not go your way. Dark Zero on the day, great start. 21 points here in game 2. G2 as well, 18 points. MPS, maybe the most consistent performer. They were involved, I believe, in the last top 5s. 17 points in this one. BR Demons and Team Liquid are winners of game 1, rounding out our top 5. Liquid adding 6 points to an already nice chunky win that they had to begin. But again, NRG, Tripods, Bots, Esports Arena, this is what we saw last game, except maybe 2 more points. I think NRG had 5, Tiff, and I think Tripods might have had 5 too. If you don't win, that's a solid number to just keep you in the point total, ready to pop off when you get that game that really goes your way.
Yeah, you definitely need to make sure that you're hitting double digits. So you've got the top 4 teams here that hit double digits to stay consistent. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the 11th through 20th, because I feel like we're missing some of the names here that are looking to get into contention. You've got HEC taking a 0 on match number 2, Cloud9 another 0, having a really tough day, but it's TSM who drops Lava Siphon, and you would think would have that ultimate movement and rotational ability to be able to take advantage of that zone, but they fell really early on.
Well, let's take a look at the series results here after 2. It's put us tied with Team Liquid and MPS up on top. Vicky, massive implications for MPS. 25 points. Let's just say they win and add 25 to the tally. That puts them in the 70-point range. That's, I mean, we only have 2 teams with 70 points right now, and they're the top 2 teams. That means they might actually be securing a spot for LAN if they keep this up.
And that's why this week is so crazy when you look at North America. MPS, even though they fell, in 6th place in game number 1, they secured themselves with 5 KP, getting 6th place, some additional points right here. I know Mandis was like securing so much in the kill feed in that first game, but then being able to also have a pop-off game where you secure double-digit KP in that game number 2 and 3rd place will allow you to now tie up with Team Liquid, who wasn't in the end game for that last game.
It's just separating yourself in little ways. That's what you're trying to do. Tiff, as well, reacting to the standings. Dark Zero finally get their win. That's a big thing for them, but still behind MPS, still behind Team Liquid. Very, very consistent performers. But it's kind of looked like a lot of teams can win in North America today.
Yeah, but this is a must win. When you're looking at the teams outside the top 9, you had 10th place Dark Zero, 11th Season, 12th NRG, 13th MPS. These are all the teams that are vying for the top of the leaderboard in a well-deserved 25 points here in this last Group A versus B matchup. And as we jump into map number 3, Vicky, I don't know if I can contain my excitement.
I'm super excited right now because it's our final game on World's Edge 2. So this is the final chance for some of these squads that feel way more comfortable on World's Edge to secure the extra points that they need before maybe taking a different competitive approach going into Storm Point.
Competitive approach is what's going to be needed, and check out that zone. I feel like we've been getting a lot of center World's Edge zones. Now, when you look at Lava Siphon, it is the POI that is centered in that bottom south side of the zone in the center, and you feel like TSM, that is completely uncontested from every aspect, should find a lot of success here. My question is, at what point during their rotation were they getting into some, spicy moments?
Yeah, I'm also thinking about the moment where Furia tried to fully send it onto tripods, and then because of all that, they got booted out of their own POI just for the location that they were sitting in, that building from Seasons, and then they rotated way too early and put themselves in between tripods and the other squads that were already in Lava Siphon. It was a very sad situation for the likes of Furia, who just really wanted to secure some extra KP. As we tune into Dark Zero, your winners of game number 2, the team that definitely needs to perform right now, because when we talk about custom teams, yeah, we highlighted MPS, we've highlighted Energy Season, of course, getting the KP that they need, but this is a squad that didn't have the first game that they desired, and at least making the comeback in that game 2 could set them up in terms of momentum.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams. I feel like even in the EMEA broadcast earlier today, and if you're just joining in, yes, EMEA broadcast was this morning. Please go back and watch it. So many teams staying incredibly tight within the points, and that's happening here in NA as well. So every bit of adaptability that these teams are making are changing up, and it's showing. But your team CLG on your screen right now, 20th place, needs to start stepping up to the plate. We talk about teams that are on the cusp of relegation entirely. For Pro League in general, that's CLG coming into today in 20th place overall, just, I believe, 6 points shy of being just out of relegation.
That's crazy to say, too. I mean, CLG being the only other squad as well to try to rock the Caustic on World's Edge, the only team to try out this composition. They're getting shot at by TSM, as you mentioned already. They like to take Lava Siphon. They like to try to take onto the rooftops to try to stop any sort of rotation from the squads that try to enter through the Lava Siphon area. And seeing that this is going to be one of those center circled maps, I'm expecting the right side of Lava Siphon to get contested very quickly from a lot of these teams that like to go for quick rotates.
Ooh, yeah, that's actually going to be really interesting. So I had mentioned it at the very beginning. I'm like, TSM, super uncontested in Lava Siphon, living their best life, getting all the loot that they need. As you can see, 2 blues and a purple, and nicely kitted out with what they need. But now all the teams are saying, hey, we want a piece of this. We know this is TSM's land, but we're not really going to deter from this. TSM with back-to-back victories in the Group A versus B matchups, feeling incredibly confident, right? But here's also another spicy moment. We've got E8 getting down and dirty over here, just south of the ring.
And with the Motor Flame too, you love to see it. Golden out here rocking the fuse. The only fuse that we also have in this entire lobby comes from E8, and they were able to take care of Phony, make it too, with Cody going down and Esports Arena in some trouble to work with, only leaving Capra, the young legend, to waver off the pressure. He's actually playing so well behind these knockdown shields. This could be very doable for Capra.
Yeah, this is going to be a moment. I think it's really viable for him to go ahead and get a small reset to go back into this. Now, Capra, you mentioned that young legend, Cody, able to step in for Luda, who's kind of out for medical reasonings right now, but the window play. Okay, Capra,
it's a 1v1.
Exactly what you're doing. Just being able to utilize that Valk passive to finesse this building, going out and laying all of the damage down. Can they get around this knockdown shield to really send this team to bed?
Oh, this is disgusting. Even with the walk jump, Capra comes out on top. E8 get eliminated despite having the number advantage in the very beginning part of this fight. All hands ready for Capra. Esports Arena gets to see another day. The same cannot be said for E8.
Look, if Capra has one fan, I am one of them. Vicky is another, as they just keep on with the stability reset south of the zone. MPS right now nestled into Lava Siphon, utilizing that Newcastle wall to really shield themselves from the onslaught of bullets that TSM is trying to pressure upon them. TSM's like, this is my house, bro. Get out of it.
I'm trying to bring myself down after that intense 1v1. I love seeing moments like that, especially when it comes to using literally everything that you could work with. The knockdown shield, the wall hops, How falling incredibly low though right now as their TSM is trying to take different angles to see the other squads that are trying to fight for control over in that Lava Siphon building. Complexity in this fight here as the EMP comes in, and here comes the Mad Maggie. I hope you're ready, cuzzies, because you know the damage is coming in from that Wrecking Ball.
Look, Season out here, Klain falling, so Mr. Hack and Kenny are gonna have to step it up and clean up Complexity because Tempest was the one to bring them down, which is actually a different team. When you find yourself in lines of sight throughout multiples of teams, there's an issue. Complexity going for the reset immediately onto Shiny, while Lux is providing a lot of suppression and that wall at their back to deter anyone from taking stray pop shots at them. But it is going to be that Karasuno roster that is going to be the death threats of Season.
Yeah, they're moving in for a great timing on that third party, and you know that Complexity is counting their blessings with that timing of that fight because now they're going to be able to restabilize, and Karasuno is trying to see what the situation is because they don't have a seer. They're rocking the Catalyst, the only Catalyst that we have in the lobby, so they don't have the recon information from what the seer passive could provide to see if maybe Season wants to get involved in this next fight.
This is where I feel like battle royales are some of the hardest games to competitively play because you couldn't control that as Season with Karasuno coming in and taking a lot of damage, right? And just Karasuno was like, hey, Season, we see you. And Complexity is just over here counting their blessings, getting that full reset, and then able to set their sights on the teams that are looking to rotate in through this chokehold. But that's just what makes it so much fun because you cannot control those moments.
We could take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling now that we have that information. I'm expecting it maybe pulling over to the west side of Lava Siphon, northwest side potentially here. Love that we've been getting a lot of more of these middle circles, but it's going to cause chaos for the squads that are taking their time into rotating from the north side of the map. TSM, though, in a way better position, but they don't have one of those bunkered down characters. Gets pinged and beamed from the charge rifle to their backs. Reps having to be careful, getting a little bit of that PTSD after Reps being one of those notable players to rock the charge rifle himself finds a lot of success.
Team Smiley finding a nice down onto NRG Sweet, so you know they're in a little bit of trouble, but you see the exhibit coming out. 3 enemies detected because they've got to go to Hal's rescue, but NRG falling incredibly low here. That Dark Veil cutting out a lot of their line of sight, and you know that's going to be Karasuno, the Catalyst, trying to push into this moment. But here's the deal. Piercing spikes are going to break through that door, and it's going to force NRG to go ahead and try to get that reset off right now, but you've got to be able to make sure that you're watching the other entryways of this small building.
Absolutely, especially since you're playing in this small building in the line of sight of other squads that are in the higher end buildings of Lava Siphon. They can take some shots if they really want to try to creep you here without trying to overextend. And look who's made their appearance in this fight. It's Furia looking out for some KP that they could claim even more heads if they could try to. They're able to loot at least a box on the outskirts. It looks like they definitely need to rely on some of this extra loot. And while taking some shots, they're not trying to overextend and put themselves in a vulnerable position.
I just feel like you can hear the His Watson comms already. Let's fight this. Let's fight this. Okay, we got a KP. Let's go back. This is the moment to kind of reset and focus on our positioning. Meanwhile, Season going to be eliminated from this lobby, and we still have 17 squads remaining here. And this zone is also not going to be another favorable one. Yes, I'm excited for the Lava Siphon zones, but teams like you'd mentioned earlier that have those really long rotations out of, you know, POIs like Skyhook West and Trials, Skyhook East. You got Team Liquid kind of making a different approach to this zone, coming in on the left side just south of Harvester. Plenty of chokeholds to be aware of, and Complexity still in the same positioning fighting that, but Furia crossing the bridge. You've got the res ship, you hear the audio cue, and I feel like that's going to bring out the hunger.
Wondering if that's NRG that we're able to get that res going in right now, but in a very bad position. This could be a silver platter finish for Furia if they can try to claim that player, but nice suppressed fire from that member of Energy. Playing on the low ground though, His Watson finding those shots on the G7, but without getting pressured out by other squads in the area, they still managed to get that knock. That's on the Tempest, now over on the low ground.
Yeah, Karasuna finding a lot of loss here throughout the mid game, and the passive of Bangalore proving to be incredibly fruitful. The moment you start having a couple bullets come your way, you get that instant speed boost, and typically it is a really beneficial moment. It's gonna shoot you just out on the outskirts, out of those line of sights. I've actually had moments where it has shot me off the map before, but thank goodness, you know, there's none of that moments around here.
None of that chaos out here, too. The only chaos being brought right now is Furia trying to hold this choke point from the squads that need to rotate from the Fragment East side of things. Wondering from what are our other slower rotating squads are opting to take that approach. You mentioned Team Liquid perfectly out here, where they are rotating from the southern point of this circle, so they wrapped around, very similar to what we had seen in the last game, trying to take their time so that way they make sure that their backs are cleared. They already made their way into Lava Siphon to meet up with the likes of TSM, as they're still holding onto that building. I've seen the circle pull towards TSM on the outskirts of that building, but that would still mean that TSM has the high ground advantage in terms of their positioning.
Yeah, they're currently settled right in the dead center of this zone. But with this being another Lava Siphon zone and Dark Zero just coming off a map victory with a similar style zone, the question is, can Dark Zero double down and run it back? Because I feel like it's one of those moments where they need to capitalize and look at this zone pull. It's actually pulling a little bit further south, which puts TSM at the north end of that next zone, and a lot of teams forced to rotate upon them.
This is good news for Dark Zero, though. At least if they're going to be out of a lot of these fights, at least they're going to safely rotate from the southern side of this circle. They have little to no cover if they approach from that low ground where the geyser area is, but at least they know if any squad wants to rotate outside of Lava City, that would be an isolated fight for that team to work with here. As we take a look at Tripods, one of our other squads that had to rotate all the way from the north side, like you mentioned, Tiff, they're also trying to take their time to kind of assess the situation over in Lava Siphon.
Yeah, Tripods coming into this day 18th overall with 34 points and looking to find themselves a ticket to that regional final. But let's talk about luxurious moments. Team Liquid on triple gold shields, bro.
They are not playing around. I mean, that's the beauty of landing in Skyhook West and Trials, of course. They got the triple gold Evo shields. They are trying to look like Exodia out here, but they're playing patiently inside that middle building of Lava Siphon, which there actually is no beacon there, I believe. I didn't see one in the mini-map, so they won't really be able to have that information that we sometimes get to see whenever there is that beacon in Lava Siphon.
Ooh, definitely. TSM just biding their time, still playing the inside. And I've got to commend them. They've been able to really control the space on the inside of this building without any characters like Watson that has fences, or maybe Newcastle, but they are still able to secure the building. So very well done. You see reps on the Seer utilizing that passive, making sure that no one is trying to send it. But it looks like Sweet hasn't actually made it back into the map yet.
Yeah, that was Karasuna who actually had gotten that res. I thought it was Energy with their positioning in that mini-map, but it was they were unable to really pull that off since Karasuna had taken that beacon from right underneath them before they were able, or rather before they were wiped out here. But let's see what Guild's gonna do. The Replicator is to his feet. You know what he's thinking right now. And we know that the mobile respawn beacon is inside the Replicator for the weekly rotation that changed today.
Look, if you're going to have someone go down there and craft, make it the Loba. You have your tactical available. You can throw out your bracelet and jump to cover or safety in a time of need. Luckily had those 105 crafting materials because that comes in... Oh, wait a second.
With the black market? Oh,
yes, he can grab it with that. That is actually 200 IQ. Big brain strats right there. I expect nothing less out of that team.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not even surprised that he opted to do something like that, just with the way that he was immediately just running away after calling up the mobile respawn in the Replicator. So nice moves right there. Also being able to use a black market, and we know Loba's black market, she gets that fairly quick right now. With some more pressure coming in, they were able to get that mobile respawn, but the play is, can they call it off? Can they put it right in front of them? They'll have some natural cover between themselves and the doorway, but there's that squad in front of them trying to pressure them.
Yeah, this is going to be the moment where they're going to have to fend off the hordes of people that want a piece of NRG, because this is like a beacon to all of the teams nearby. Say, hey, we do not have number advantage, and Guild goes absolutely insanely low.
Ooh, so scary right now. So many angles that other squads could take shots at NRG, but he pulls off the shield bat. He's going to be able to pull off the med kit, and in the safety of these Watson fences, I'm not expecting another squad to try to push it on them unless they got an EMP. CLG also get eliminated, and at the hands of TSM, who have been inside this building from the very beginning, since this is their POI, but the fact that they're able to get as aggressive as they can get and actually contest any of the stragglers that are trying to rotate inside the buildings of Lava Siphon is great news for TSM in terms of managing to still secure KP.
Look, I feel like we've seen this strategy done by HEC that plays Crypto Watson. They kind of set up their bunker and then they leave, go out, grab some KP and kind of retreat back to the safety of their building. But TSM is doing just that. And this is one of those moments where it's like there has been no aping, no inting onto TSM to challenge for their positioning. So they just have the freedom to be able to kind of go out, grab Nox. You see another one going down onto Naughty. That's going to be Cloud9. And unfortunately, they just cannot get things together here.
Unfortunate game again for C9 to work with. Having a lot of trouble right now. TSM, though, are going to be able to definitely take those, and they do know that there is that squad right in front of them. The question is, with only one member of Energy still up and alive, I believe I saw Nathan go down in the kill feed. Can Nathan's banner now get claimed, and can that mobile respawn now bring back 2 members of Energy? It's definitely going to be difficult when it's Furia that's actually on the other side of that building looking at Energy, trying to contest them.
Well, you know his Watson and Co. are definitely going to be one of those teams to take any cheeky LOS that they can to make sure that that team does not come back. Because when you think about it, Furia is currently coming into this in 17th place. They do need to get all the eliminations that they possibly can with a great finish. So every moment that they can find consistency and avoid relegation is going to be strong. But Dark Zero still alive, still finding success here on the south side of the zone.
I can't believe we're getting another circle where it's pulling closer to the side of the geyser. We're going to be jumping into a listening with Dark Zero to see what their next move is going to be when it comes to rotating on the high ground or the low ground.
Going above
Three. I'm chilling. I'm batting
Phoenix. We got bang holded.
I'll have to slide in.
I'm just gonna die to this.
Bro, yet. Hit them 40.
Cracked one. One shot, one. Bang.
Killed me. Yeah, no, I'm up.
Good job.
Chill, Shocky, chill.
Oh man, you heard the comms coming in. You heard that they had the gen online to negate the rolling thunder from the Bangalore ult from Cody, but it wasn't put down fast enough here. Esports Arena gets to walk away with some more KP to work with, but playing on the low ground is an invitation for the other squads south of Lava Siphon to try to get involved in that fight.
I just feel like that was one of those moments where you have the ring at your back, you're forced to go in, you see the missile swarms coming in, you mentioned the Bengals, and now G2 really trying to capitalize on a lot of these moments. They're the ones that are going to put the finishing touches into what ESA started. Dark Zero now eliminated just outside the top 10, but Team Liquid also falling. So both of your map 1, map 3 winners going down, or map 2 winners going down.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Dark Zero too, because they got caught in the middle of getting pinched in the south side of that rotation. Better news here for TSM is they have the high ground right now. They have the information from Rux and that Seer Tactical, and they are beaming here with the R301 from Verhos, the young controller god out here, who's going to be able to actually try to contest him to the south side. That's going to be where G2 is going to be trying to rotate from the geyser side of things, where the circle is going to be pulling towards the bridge.
Ooh. Oh, TSM throwing so much damage down. Hal forced to retreat while the other two are going to suppress cover. Now they're all going to drop down for the cover of this, but it's going to be Furia on top of them, just inundating them. Furia grabs it down on Hal and Reps. That's going to leave Verholz last man standing.
Let's not forget, they rotated from the north side of Lava Siphon and only leaves Zero Tricky on the Bangalore to try to get them out, and TSM are out of this lobby. Gent cleans them up. The one rep from Tripods is Gent, and he is trying to do it. G2 won't be able to try to contest them with the circle closing in. He's trying to duke them up a little bit. Am I going to high ground? Am I going to the left side? They're looking for him, and with Designful on the Bloodhound, he could see them right through the smoke.
This is one of those moments where G2 is going to stand above the rest, currently sitting in first place with 32 points in game number 3. We were asking, can G2 do it? They were sitting in 19th place overall, facing relegation. This is a must win for them. And you see HEC just above them on the bridge as well. When that zone starts to couple and close in on them, the question is who's going to be able to survive and who's going to have the positioning. You can see his Watson from Furia still alive just on the left side of that rock, nestled in safely, doing what it takes to get as many placement points for the team.
Yeah, it's 3 squads left in this lobby currently right now. We got HEC, Furia, and G2 left and ready to go here with the circle pulling right here toward the bridge. HEC literally have the god spot, literally have the reign over where all the other squads want to contest him, though. Crook to his back needs all the help. They get pinged on the other side. 2 squads now trying to find a nice off angle to force them up, and it's G2 who are trying to force them out.
This is an absolute big brain play by G2 coming up early. There's no way that HEC even remotely expected this. Furia going to fall in the meantime, so G2 just needs to clean house of HEC, and they do just that. They are your champions here in map number 3, Vicky. Insane.
Oh, now the beauty of that too was the fact that they were able to get on the high ground through the back end of that bridge with the gravity lift of the horizon. That is what actually contested HEC from having the god spot to then getting pressured out to the point where they needed to drop down. They literally were scurrying around with not knowing what they could do.
Surprise, surprise, right? I mean, at this point, it was just catch him off guard. Sometimes it's not about what you do, it's about when you do it. And HEC was not ready for the push from G2. However, we have to talk about G2 just taking that W. That is a big deal. You talked about it too, Tiff, and I want to let you lean in more on that. G2 sitting in 19th place. They had to show up big today. They had to take advantage of this opportunity where maybe some teams, not going to perform, feeling like day 7's just, we're already in a good spot. G2 wasn't, but they certainly did that in game 3.
Yeah, you definitely touched a lot on it in that pre-show moment. This is a must win for them. They need to get as many points as they possibly can. When you look at it, coming in 19th place with 33 points, that is literally just 2 points separating you from dropping out and facing relegation. You want to find yourself a fighting chance in that regional final, because I feel like G2 has something to prove with this roster. They want to get into the regional final, find themselves kind of a Hail Mary, maybe that match point victory to get themselves a spot at the Split 1 playoffs. And I think starting here with a map win may carry their momentum forward.
Vicky, wasn't losing playoffs that kind of inspired a lot of these changes with Designful. It was losing playoffs, but it was also not making champs. That was a big incentive for him to go ahead and switch this roster up. Obviously, gentrifying now on tripods, but Chaotic Much and Resulta and Designful, they have really started to click here.
Yeah, you could tell that Chaotic feels very comfortable on this roster. He popped off even before that last game. I think he has secured himself a total of like 9 KP throughout the last 2 games, which is why G2 was sitting in the top 3 spots. So the fact that G2 now has been able to take a dub, the last dub that you could take on World's Edge, where I do feel like G2 feels a lot more comfortable before we make that transition into Stormpoint, is fantastic news for a team that wants to try to make it into LAN.
Tiff, HEC, what do we feel about them? Obviously, 2 back-to-back, not back-to-back, but game 1 and game 3 find themselves in essentially top 2 situations. They can't make it happen, but they're there.
They are there, and they were there in match day number 1 as we go through some of the highlights from match 3. They came in second to TSM on match day number 1, and they opened up with a map 1 victory. And they've already gotten a victory here today, I think. No, just kidding. Whatever, regardless. Second place on that map,
2
right?
second place, yeah.
Yeah, 2 second places, but that was a moment. And if had that G2 team not hit the gravity lift to pop up behind them, I feel as if that moment would have been a little different. But Crook typically played Gibby back in the days of the meta. He's now on Crypto, which is a little bit different. And Hill has really taken the place of Watson. He's really comfortable on Watson, but the question is, what was the moment and how did they not get kind of that signal that G2 came from behind them? And I feel like that was a miss in that moment.
Maybe that's what's separating them, Vicky. Little things like that. HEC, it has come down to that final fight, and executing there was the missed EMP that wasn't really missed. It was just taken by Nocturnal, but you can maybe blame HEC for putting it in a position or flying it in a certain way where it was vulnerable to begin with. I think that is also where they have to look back and say, is there something we need to do to clean up our game in order to finally take these wins?
Yeah, at least kind of putting a split attention out here if they have to look to their 6 or try to negate any sort of opportunity for these squads to try to force them off of what could have been a game-winning opportunity for them. They didn't have the best game too. I think they were the first squad out of the lobby, but the fact that they were still able to secure a top 3 finish in this game is great news for a squad like HEC.
Following here, the game ended up in a flurry. TSM actually going out there in about 5th place. They had at least 6 kills, but this is the moment that G2 was able to push up and capitalize on HEC. Enemy hits a lot of great shots there, but from above, you can see G2, all 3 of them alive and well, and it's led them to an 18-point victory and an emphatic statement here at the end of World's Edge before we head over to Storm Point. One that I'm sure the morale and camaraderie of this team could use as they boost their hopes of getting higher standings and placing into a spot where they can guarantee a chance of being in that regional final. Hey, maybe even at LAN. HEC, Furia Tripods, Complexity rounding it out. And again, I keep saying it. Look at these points from Tripods. Look at these points. You know, 5, 7, 11. They're getting involved, gentrifying, holding on as well, Tiff, and staying alive. Big ups to him taking that on his shoulders and really making sure that they can find value within that team.
It's honestly the power of ratting at this point in time. You had Furia, his Watson, a rat in map number 1, holding to the top 3 position, doing it again here in map number 3. Gent being that rat for Tripod. Sometimes you just gotta put the team on your back, solo it out, and try to salvage as much as you can. And in a scan-heavy meta, that's really tough to do because it's always like there's a seer that knows exactly where your location is, but you just try to hide your LOS the best that you can do. And TSM coming in 6th, 9 eliminations. Mind you, they start in Lava Siphon. So they were in the same building for the majority of that map and just kind of leaving their shelter to go out, grab an elimination, go inside and regain. Really well done.
Yeah, TSM obviously doing well. These teams all performing. We've seen them a lot here. We've also, heading to our next page, seen a lot of teams in this situation are bottom 10. Not Dark Zero, though. They were just coming off a win, and then 11th, Vicky. You would love to see more consistency with that, and of course with NRG, but that is sometimes the way they go. MPS also finding themselves with 0 points in this game.
Yeah, Energy in some trouble here too. CLG as well. After season, were able to contest Furia in game number 2. They find themselves dropping in that 18th place spot. Very interesting to see the second page squads right now and how they did in that final game on World's Edge. But then we take a look at the likes of Tripods, who are also just getting better and better as each game progresses. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out as we make that map switch.
All right, let's see how things have tallied over the day. It is G2 with the victory that are now over HEC. Well-placed second from Group B in 32. Furia and his Watsons ratting heroics, as we have seen, takes a point ahead of Liquid, who are in 4th with 29 and 28 respectively. MPS rounding out our top 5 with 25 points, Tiff. But it's a stacked lobby, and there's maybe a 10-point difference between 2 and 8 right now. So it's close.
Yeah, they're definitely elongating and making some of these gaps. Like before we came into map number 3, you had 2 teams tied in first place with 25 points. And then it was a 3-point gap and a 2-point gap and another 3-point gap. Well, now there's an 8-point gap between G2 and HEC. But you've got a lot of must-perform teams that are finding themselves within 10 points from one another. And it just takes one good game to just really change this up. And that's exactly what G2 just did. But now the question is, can someone else double down, find success, moving on over to Storm Point, where they may fare better?
I look at Team Liquid. They started out really strong. They've got Sykes on there, and I think that's a big deal to have him in number 7. But when it comes to kills, Chaotic Butch, Vicky, leading the way with 11.
You'd love to see it here. The only member of G2 on this overall skill kill leaders right now, but also nice to note that Hal is right behind them by that 1 KP difference, though. So TSM also trying to keep themselves in contention. 2 members, also nice to note, from HEC and Furia are also on this overall leaderboard. So that's also nice to know as we move into that next map to see how that's going to fare against the squads that like to play more on the edge.
Big shout out to Deeds as well, holding it down in the 10th spot with 5 kills. All of these top performers at the half. It means it's tough to focus on one team, but Vicky, we wanted to give you the challenge in this little break before we head to Storm Point to tell us who's the one team that has caught your eye that we should focus on here after 3.
I got to talk about Team Liquid out here, because Team Liquid started off very strong and they've been taking a much slower approach into these last 2 circles that we've seen on World's Edge. We've had 2 very similar circles, one pulling towards the geyser area to the right side of Lava Siphon, and now this last circle pulling towards the bridge area that would have given them the advantage. But that also means that they have a lot of ways to go when it comes to making the transition from Skyhook into those next circles, and that's why they had a lot more success in this very first game. not only taking the W, but they made the quick rotate to make sure that they could choke out any other squads that wanted to go through that choke point outside of Skyhook here. So Team Liquid right now, as we make that change up to Storm Point, this is a squad that definitely situates themselves in that final circle positioning, and I'm expecting them to try to at least clean up some more KP in the middle of those rotations, because they absolutely need it if they want to stay in the top 3, top 4 spot of the day.
Team Liquid in a nice position here, Vicky. It was a great focus, a great highlight, and an opportunity to see them excel. Will they do it in the next 3? We'll find out. We're switching things up, going to Storm Point, a new map, a new opportunity. Who will rise to the challenge? We'll find out after this.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here ready to get to our back half of the 3 more games we've yet to play in the ALGS of North America Day 7. Here's to set the table, though. We've got only 2 more match days after this, meaning whoever performs here is setting themselves up to have a very easy or very hard road at qualifying for a regional final. Only top 20 will be able to play, and one of those teams will win, and that team is guaranteed a spot at our LAN coming up at the Split 1 playoffs. However, the top 9 teams outside of that winner, in terms of points, will also guarantee spots in LAN. And Tiff, as I bring you back in and we get ready to jump into game 4, that means teams like G2, it means teams like even NRG right now, it means teams certainly like Cloud9 need these points to not just make the regional final and have a chance to get to LAN, but maybe to even push themselves up into qualifying for LAN based on points after their overall season performance. It's do or die right now.
It is definitely do or die. It's one of those moments where we sit back and we look at the overarching 30 teams that are coming from the North American region, fighting it out to get to Split 1 playoffs. And it's kind of hard to say. You couldn't look at it and say, you know, these are the surefire 10 teams that need to go, because there's so many big names that are going to miss out on that moment. You're right, there's only 10. There's only 10, and there's not enough spots for the amazing, talented teams that we have in this region. And Team Liquid right now, we got to highlight them on that halftime performance right there. Come into today, 2 points shy of being at the top of the regular season standings. And this could be a day where they unseat TSM and go to the top of that leaderboard.
Big storyline that you mentioned there. TSM, 2 game day winners, match day winners. They have matched only Ascend on the other side of EMEA, and now the Guard as well, who have done it in North America. Guard not playing today. Will Liquid be able to join them as 2-day match winners plus? Ascend was close to 3. Didn't happen. It shows you how hard it is. One thing going differently, one thing going wrong, one team popping off means they win and not you. So it's not an easy feat, but we certainly know Liquid is capable of it. Sitting in about 5th position here as we check all of our teams landing, Tiff, and get a look at a Northwestern zone centered around Stormcatcher. As of now, Thunderwatch, we did see something a little bit like this in EMEA earlier today.
Love that you brought that up, because that's the first thing I thought of the moment I saw this zone. And a lot of teams like Alliance that land Lightning Rod in EMEA found some success there. But if you can see just to the north end, a member of TSM landed incredibly north, close to Dark Zero's drop spot POI to grab that beacon immediately. But it caught the attention of Dark Zero. But let's jump on over to G2, which is landing at the mill. And after a lot of hot and heavy moments in scrims, in Pro League, trying to vie for a drop spot, have ended up uncontested at a very nice drop spot.
Accurate and easy to control.
G2 started this season pretty decently. I think going into day one, you have high hopes. You have a new roster, and to get 39 points, coming in 6th, just behind Dark Zero, outside of the top 5, I think that's pretty strong. But when they went in to their second day of playing, that is when G2 started to think about, you know, how do we approach our game? And they were challenged. They hit 20th place, only 12 points there in match day 4 when these teams last collided. And obviously that is set up for a very interesting, a very impressive response here, taking on the challenge, going, we did not do well in this lobby. We did not put on our best show and showcase what we are as a team. Taking the lobby by charge, now ahead of 8 points in first place. Great story from G2 and great lesson of resilience from them, telling the lobby, hey, we are here to play.
And I think that's a moment, if you can sit back and analyze what's not working for you as a team and take that initiative to adapt and learn and grow from it, that is how legends are made in any kind of industry outside of esports. Take that into your normal everyday lives. Adapt and grow from the hard moments. But you come on over to Tripods right now. We've had a lot of moments for them where they just need to step up to the plate so they're not facing retribution here. But 7th place on the day, 22 points. You've got Gent that came in really clutch in map number 3, and they're just trying to, you know, stand up and find some success. Couple that passion that Nick Merckx and co have for the game and let it fly.
And this is what Tripods have done. They are not the biggest fragging squad. I don't think anyone considers that this is the team like Furia who's going to go and have a 19 kill game. However, they are a team that's pretty consistent in their placements, and they do usually rank right around that 10th spot. They were 14th in their last game day with B versus C. In day 4, they were 10th, and they are continuing to try to push the envelope of saying we are going to be a representative in this ALGS. We're going to be a problem here in TSM. Hal, he's been a problem. He goes down. It's Dark Zero who's eliminated there. Furia also taking down Fun FPS from Team Liquid. 2 big fights happening, but TSM comes out on the better side of theirs.
You know, I've really got to give a shout out to Verholst in this moment, able to pick off 2 members of Dark Zero and really set them up for success. And Dark Zero not able to really set themselves up in a moment. And Furia just going in on the bottom of this nut building. Pander's taking a lot of damage on the moment. Oh no! Rain Day Liquid?
Yep, that was Liquid. Furia, we saw the first down go, and it was on Fun FPS, and that's just trouble for Nocturnal and Sykes. It's a tall task to win a 3v3 against Furia, but to win a 3v2, nearly impossible. And they show you right there, his Watson back in action on the Bangalore. A man who has caused calamity across the Apex Legends scene and usually gets most of the blame for bringing Seer back into the meta. Now off the Seer on the Bangalore and showing that he can get it done with any legend as long as he's got some mobility and some options. And he certainly has that with Bang.
We talk about a lot of those teams that have passion, Rain Day, and I feel like his Watson is one of the most. I feel like Apex Legends is his life. When I wake up in the morning, his Watson is one of the first people on Twitch streaming his ranked grind, and he's been doing it on Bangalore, on Broken Moon, putting in the reps. I know Vicky mentioned it. I believe he's still #1 Predator available, and they've already got their eyes set on that next team. A team that's very akin to the likes of Vexed Gaming over in EMEA, who found success here today. That just goes to show you that you don't actually have to change up your play style to find an overarching win on the day.
And you know, one of the things about a competitor like his Watson is when you have situations like Furia and a team like his, led by his Watson, in the style that he leads and the style that he communicates, whether it's online, whether it's in team comms, whether it's on stream, you realize he's got an opinion. He's going to go for it. He believes in himself. And you, as a result of their performances, you have to pay attention. A lot of people wanted to write this team off. They wanted to call them too risky. They were throwing away, you know, kind of the way the game should be played by just running at teams. And they've reinvented the meta. They've showed that it works. They don't care what you have to say. They're going to do what they need to do. And that scared a lot of teams. That's made teams adjust, knowing, hey, we can't get them to play by the rules. So we better start shifting. Better start having more aggressive compositions. I respect that in a way, and I think as a competitor, most do. And you could see one of his more vocal, jokingly most of the time, rivals is Imperial Hal and TSM, and they are in that egg right next to them. And Furia electing to maybe just rotate a little bit more instead of getting caught with a fight right now with TSM.
Yeah, I like this play from Panders right now to go back and really hit the beacon again once this ring closes, to give them that additional information that tells them, hey, where do we exactly need to pull from this? As you can see, they're just on the outskirts. The two zones are kind of intersecting at this moment. So it's kind of like, how big of a rotation do we need to take? Is it going to pull more towards Thunderwatch, where teams like HEC and MPS are kind of believing that that's going to happen, while a lot of teams still finding themselves far on the outskirts of the ring, beginning their rotation, with CLG still over at North Pad.
It's a really hard spot for TSM to be in, with Furia right behind them. Cloud9, if you were watching EMEA Alliance, tried to make a move. Excuse me, it was Vex, tried to make a move around the rock that you're actually seeing. And on the backside of Vexed, of Alliance, and Alliance turned around, took Vexed out. It didn't work. That's where Cloud9 is currently holding. It was a good spot. Alliance, however, weren't able to make work of it. We'll see if Cloud9 can do anything different here as E8 Golden just checking with the heartbeat sensor. If anyone is approaching, nice quick scope on the 30-30. Gonna do some more damage there, charging up shots with the Ranger. We'll have plenty of pressure and presence. E8 not needing to move right now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like there's a lot of definite highlights from what we're seeing in this ring towards the EMEA moments. You brought it up, Cloud9 kind of holding up where Alliance was, E8 in a very similar position to Ember that was earlier on today. So it's kind of fun to see, but BR Demons still kind of trying to get out of zone. But there's another team in their neighboring vicinity. You can see not only are they hitting this zip line, the question is who's going to be on the other edge of this, or will they have a relatively scotch-free rotation in?
BR Demon's gonna maybe run into Season here. That's the only team that I can imagine they might have a chance of looking at. Pretty good timing on this as well. You don't want to go too late into it, because of course then that zone is going to pull, and you still got to find a spot in the next zone outside of this. Timing the med kit to perfection. Been a lot of fun little videos on the exact moment you need to hit that med kit in order to maximize the amount of time you can spend in zone, as BR Demons do make it in relatively safely. Still got a ways to go, and will they take this roundabout approach? It seems likely, as we follow along with our leaders of the lobby. G2 sitting on 40 points. Chaotic Much, Design, Resulta saying, let's go for a ride, boys. Take a look at the land.
The whip.
Yeah, let's hop in the whip. You know, we earned a little bit of a break. We don't need to walk all the way. I'll pick you up. Let's go hang out over here.
Looks like they're going to be making their way throughout the south, kind of western side of the zone, just in front of Command Center, relatively uncontested in this kind of Fast and the Furious style journey. Maybe a little bit of Tokyo Drift moments going on here, and they do have that boost available to them, and it looks like they're actually going to cut on over on the left side of Command Center, maybe go through Spiders to come in on Esports Arena, which would be a very interesting choice that will give you the ability to maximize some of those elimination points that you'd like. But you do have that 8-point buffer in first place, but you're never safe.
Yeah, well, the thing that they can use too, and they're not doing it really here, but you can use this Trident SM mobile cover. They just want to get out though. They know there's a team right in front. They saw the Watson fences. They haven't destroyed it yet, but if you're Esports Arena, you've got to have heard that, right? Or at least we'll be peeking around. I think ESA still not looking that direction. This could be dangerous. ESA are actually focused on BR Demons. Oh, so this is an opportunity for G2.
Yeah, if
They
you
know
can just
that
kind
they're
of
walking up.
sneak your way in. You've just got to sneak in. You're able to grab some ammo replacements, and you're right, ESA currently preoccupied on this top end of this moment. But I've seen a lot of teams kind of play this area, Sentinels in particular. They were throwing down on the Ash last match day, utilizing the phase breach to kind of drop down, eliminate the team, and then go back up to reheal.
There's an opportunity. I don't know how badly they want them off. But there's a lot of Bangalore ultimates all around in this lobby. This high ground is tough to get somebody away from. And when you have G7 scouts and 30-30 repeaters, there's going to be a lot of damage. And they certainly need it. Phonyhead still working with a blue, so wants to get that up into a purple as soon as possible. Maybe 5 more shots. And that should be no problem for Phony, who's had some top 50 ALGS clips of all time. I don't know if people remember. He's got a couple of amazing clutches, and he also has some Kraber shots that were unheard of in terms of My Little Phony, that team that he was formerly on. But now you're representing ESA and doing quite well.
Ooh, that's a way to farm. Utilize those missile swarms to really get yourself some extra moment to level up that Evo shield. We saw some really great moments out of Capra in map number 3, the final map on World's Edge. And it was really exciting. Just that clutch up, you know, really get that momentum moving. And you got Cody kind of stepping in for Luda here while he's out on a medical issue. I believe something to do with maybe his wrist. So interesting to see how this team dynamic is going to work as well. 16 squads left in the lobby, and it's just a little bit of poke fighting ensuing at this point.
Staying with Esports Arena. MPS and HEC, they are in where the zone, or at least vision of that black market boutique is. The zone is going to pull a little bit more to the right as we have Lobas in this lobby. Tripods on the south side of things as well. And Team Smiley. Fury and Cloud9 still holding those buildings. TSM still where they were, holding where we kind of saw north of where Ember were holding in EMEA, E8 are holding in NA, and now there's a lot of action happening near TSM. Season is shooting, fighting. Vayne takes down Demi. CLG also firing away. As I know we're watching Esports Arena here, but still a lot of different things happening as people are trying to find positioning, and G2 happy and content just sit there underneath. Don't have to make a move quite yet, Tiff.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see kind of what happened with CLG on the outskirts. They hit that skyward dive, began their rotation. And unfortunately, you're right, lost out on Demi in that rotation. TSM and Season, Furia as well in that nearby vicinity. You can see G2 right now going on the hunt. The Beast of the Hunt active. Let's jump into a quick listen and see just about what's to go down.
Come back, start swinging left.
There's somebody down here.
There's a solo right here at this rock.
Keep
come left, come left. Kill the solo.
It's two. More from one. I touched one.
41 flash on Val. Full three. We're gonna have to focus on going right.
One side. Alright, we're going right or right?
Right.
I got stunned.
We shouldn't have shot them. Go to the left. We shouldn't have shot them. We gotta let them go left there.
You can hear it all in the comms right there, the immediate regret of that push. But that just goes to show you that it's a learning moment, knowing when a fight is not going to be a good moment to take. And Team Smiley also going down as well. ESA in a lot of trouble. You got Cody, last man standing for the team, subbing in for Luda on that Bangalore, trying to keep the dream alive.
Esports Arena with 15 points. Can they make it just a few more? They've got to get in this top 10, and they'll start to add. So staying alive is the name of the game for Cody. MPS has plenty. They're in number 6 overall in our rankings, and they are very, very healthy. That's that Loba ultimate we were talking about with Madness rocking that. Shubi and Pow passing off. The gold helmet's going to reduce the tactical and the ultimate charge time. So based on whether they want more black market boutiques, maybe they want another castle wall, maybe they just want a little bit of both. they're going to be able to utilize that. A very, very nice structured team here to make sure that they are prepared for late game, no matter where the circle pulls. And we've finally seen it. It will pull directly to where Furia, NRG, and Cloud9 are already set up. So another major move is going to happen here in just 43 seconds, Tiff. It's going to bring these teams into contest. And I feel bad for where Tripods are right now. I feel like it seems like they're in a good spot, but I know that they're going to get focused by a lot of these teams coming from the left as they try to go in, and I'm just not sure they're going to be able to make it out of this choke.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very interesting moment and a tell, but a lot of these teams that are coming from Thunderwatch that are all going to collapse upon each other are going to have the likes of NRG and Furia and Cloud9 that have been just living up. You can see right now Madness just getting inundated with a lot of damage, utilizing that Loba tactical to try and get to safety, going to hit the heal. But I love that they started their rotation prior to that zone immediately closing at their back, but HEC going under fire, trying to get out of Thunderwatch.
And doing a good job, at least, of fighting here, but they've got to get away from the zone. It's doing more damage to the players. Enemy isn't going to make it out. Oh, no. And that will be Rack Attack eliminated. ESA as well. This is where it all starts to crumble. MPS still holding that spot, and they will be the ones to make it away from Thunderwatch. I love the skyward dive, too, happening from Tripods on the side of your screen. They're going to land near Cloud9. Kurasuno as well. Going to push on to E8. E8 has the angles, though, to be able to walk this in, but they've got to deal with MPS, who are walking in on the left, too, and going to beat them to the spot. So E8 have to challenge here. The exhibit goes down, Tip. They hit one. Madness is down. The castle wall, though, is too good. And the shots from Pow Pow and Shubi are going to be enough.
Yeah, but it's going to be Karasuno that's going to leave their place of residence and want to get in on this action now. MPS being eliminated, 6 squads left remaining. You had Tripods that kind of ended upon Cloud9 via that skyward dive, and the question is, where is TSM? Where is Furia? There's a Dark Veil up in the action from the hands of ESA Fury that's going to be able to really redirect a lot of the LOS away from them. Sure, it's going down now, but they were able to get under the cover of that rock, and no one is able to look at them. But the question is, was it too early of a Dark Veil to be able to begin that rotation, because they're still not in that next zone?
They're going to have about 1:30, maybe 2 minutes before it is back up. And do they have the time? They've got about 50 seconds before the circle forces them to move, and they're on the edge. Maybe there is an ultimate accelerant. You have to be hoping if you're a Karasuno. But I have to say, big congratulations on putting down the Dark Veil. Seen some catalyst here in our ALGS. I just love the way that thing is so valuable in these rotations when everyone just wants to peek. And that Dark Veil means you're certainly not going to waste your time trying to shoot a team that's in the Dark Veil on the other side, Tiff, when you have a chance to just shoot a team right in front of you on the left. It's like a Watson fence. You'd rather just not walk in it if you don't have to and walk around. And I think that's what we're seeing Catalyst start to bring to this meta competitively. And this is just the beginning. She could be a character that starts to make a big impact on it, as TSM not picking up the catalyst, but they're gonna have to pick up the pace here very soon. 2 seconds, and they're gonna have to use something else besides this rock to stay alive.
Oh no, not an Arc Star, and that's probably coming from Furia that is looking to bring all of the pain upon TSM. And I lie, it's a combo of 2 teams, Karasuno and Furia. TSM not going to be able to make it into that next zone, but the question is, can Karasuno find success here? You see NRG holding up in the middle of the building, utilizing Watson to kind of fence off that area. C9 has been here since beginning of time, just holding down. Can this be a moment of success for them? And Furia exercising so much patience, but the Dark Veil coming out yet again. This is the benefits of Ultimate Accelerants.
This is unreal. The benefits not only of the Ultimate Accelerant, but of this Dark Veil, allowing them to get through in a spot where they certainly would have been shot, not only by NRG, but by Furia, who have a pretty good angle on them, and so they're going to have to still figure that problem out. It looks pretty, but it is going to fall, and they are in a tough spot. So even though they got here, will they be able to stay here? NRG alive and well. Cloud9 also desperately needing a win. Furia in the building across, and Karasuno with the catalyst underneath, taking pressure from Nathan. And oh, it's just the 2. Sweet is down. It's Nathan and Gildersons. Nathan with the Rampage. No thermites in the inventory, so won't be able to amp it up, and almost takes too much damage there. We'll have to shield battery to stay alive.
Yeah, that was a really well-timed peek to throw down a lot of damage to make sure that they are not going to get inted on by the team below them. But this is going to be the war of attrition. We've seen crypto drones coming out with that EMP late game, and it seems like a lot of teams are finding success in being able to shoot down the drone before the damage is done. But it's Cloud9 withstanding the pressure of pushing and maybe getting some of these early eliminations, and Furia as well. This is the trigger discipline that I didn't know we were ever going to get from Furia.
And this is what can make them so dangerous if they start adding this into their game alongside the ability to run and gun. They're maybe going to be the most dangerous team in all of North America, maybe even the world. NRG, they've got to put together a miracle. They've lost Sweet, but he's certainly still giving them information as it's up to Gildersons to prove his worth in the trade market. And Nathan to get the job done. Furia here. Up on top, it's going to be a crypto EMP. Bloodhound scan just to play a little bit of defense on his side. If you're going to push us, we're going to know you're coming. But there's the Dark Veil yet again. Boy, oh boy, does that have a nice cooldown, or do they have a lot of ultimate accelerants? Either way, Catalyst playing a huge part of this. And look, it's just meaning that Furia, they don't have an angle. They don't want to look, so they're focusing their attention on NRG. And with Cloud9 down, this is a top 3 for Karasuno. They might just be able to pick up this win.
Yeah, but still, Zera going ahead and utilizing the black hole on Karasuno. Sure, it's not going to connect, but Furia's attention is all on NRG with 3 squads remaining. The question is, who is going to fall first? Furia doing what they need to do to take the top of the leaderboard. Is this the moment where all of these teams that are primarily kill heavy going to find success? We saw it in EMEA, and this is getting me so excited. Rainday, we might get to see it here in North America as well.
Oh no, James Fearless is going to go down. You want to make sure Nathan goes though, and Furia choosing actually to go against Karasuno. Karasuno do dive Nathan, so they're going to get the kill, but it's going to be Furia who takes the W. They show patience. They show a little bit of class at the end, and they celebrate. Pinkies in the air with the W and a toast of victory. Zera Tricky is Watson and Panders getting the job done here. Our first game of Storm Point.
Look, that was absolutely insane. I just had to do it. We had to put our pinkies up, everyone. Let's go. That was done with absolute elegance. Beautifully done by Furia. And Vicky, welcome back. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on that game.
Well, we saw that Furia lands in Lightning Rod, so they had a really easy move into that final circle where they could predict that. And I was actually laughing, you know, while you guys were casting. I was saying to myself, well, this is one of the first times I see Furia play as patiently as they can for final circle positioning without getting too ahead of themselves. Like you guys mentioned, Karasuno being the only squad to still rock the Catalyst and use that Veil Wall so amazingly when it came to those tricky rotations. And aside from that, my thoughts on Energy having to play that out as a duo when we basically saw Sweet get griefed on by Seasons. I mean, I gotta call it out as it was right there too. We know that Energy lands in checkpoint, but we gotta highlight the duo from Energy to actually play through rotating from checkpoint as a duo into that final circle without getting contested.
Yeah, and I mean, they actually not only did that, they were really thorns in the side of Karasuno, who had the Dark Veil multiple times, who had piercing spikes, stopping the movement, who had just tough angles for NRG to even deal with, yet they still made an impact. And Nathan almost survived as a solo to get second place, but I think it was just a smart play by Karasuno to go ahead and dive that. Tiff, you know, we did mention the Catalyst, we talked about the Dark Veil, and it showed, like Vicky mentioned, so much value in those open spaces that we typically see points end on in Storm Point. So Catalyst maybe more so in Storm Point, really showcasing how that ultimate can really give you a safety net, which TSM did not have. They had to cross open ground and then just got shot immediately. But of course, Karasuno did and got second place because of.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to give a shout out to Nicewig on this one because I was watching his APAC North watch party last night and some teams were breaking out Catalyst. Let me just tell you, and they were doing exactly what Karasuno was doing, just breaking up the line of sights. He mentioned in particular, when these teams are competing, a lot of that adrenaline starts coupling with the fact that they will shoot at what they see. And if you can break up the line of sight so you're not being focused on, which that Dark Veil couples really nicely with, you can kind of make your rotations a little bit more safely, and that just goes to show you how fruitful it can be.
Looking ahead, Vicky, too, even to LAN, we always see teams, APAC North, APAC South, they have some different legend compositions. It was the Watson with Yuka, and it was seeing all of the performances from a lot of our Japanese representatives, too, maybe playing off meta to North America and EMEA. It's good for them to get some practice here against the Catalyst that could play a big role in Split 1 playoffs.
Yeah, that's been something that I absolutely love when it comes to the different regions that we're exposed to in competitive Apex. You saw the Loba out, you saw the Catalyst, you saw the Newcastle, the different variations of Crypto Watson, Horizon, Valkyrie, the Bangalore, obviously also kind of trying to take a very similar role to what the Catalyst wants to provide too with the smoke grenades, but obviously what fares against something like that is the Digi threat, which is something that we've been seeing utilized as well for a lot of our other different legends and their compositions for their weapon loadout. So between that and the Bloodhound, it's really interesting to see how a lot of this has really played out together.
Tiff, Karasuno, they make it in. TSM, tough spot here for them. And this circle just was a bit of a sad one if you weren't in these high spots. But we talk about that's what it means to be on the north side of Storm Point.
Yeah, a little of a gamble right there. Had TSM really had the zone pulled towards them, they could have found a lot of success in shooting the teams that were making their rotation over to the other side of the ring, like Furia, Cloud9, NRG, but unfortunately, they just didn't get the luck of the draw in that scenario, and you can just see they were left out to play, and Vicky called it, you know, Furia on the trigger discipline, and it is proving to be an exciting time for them. Can they carry this into the moment of playoffs, should they make it, and utilize that moment to win on a match point format? I mean, second no longer?
I don't know, but it's starting to look scary if they can keep up these results for the rest of the lobby. Furia with 23 points, well in the lead above everyone else. Karasuno, second place and 12. NRG finished third with 10. Cloud9, good to keep seeing them add points on it. We know they need results today. They're slowly but surely getting it. And TSM, another 5th, 6th, 7th place with a lot of kills, 12 points total. They will end up in third place, second place technically, tied with Karasuno in terms of overall points getters in game 4, Vicky.
Yeah, it's nice to see that too with TSM. They land at the wall, so they were able to get that clean rotation of cleaning up some KP. While we take a look at the second page right now to see the squads that didn't get to perform in that top 10 right now, I'm looking at Team Liquid actually. That surprised me. We saw a season did pick up that quick KP onto Sweet at the very beginning, but then shortly afterwards, they also got caught off in the middle of their rotation.
Well, let's take a look at the overall series here as Furia jump ahead of G2. They had a tough rotation and it really didn't go anywhere before the meat of the game began. And so they only get a few more points, 1 point, in fact, added to their tally. Furia get 23, and so they push up now 9 points in the lead. HEC still with their 2 second-place finishes right behind G2. TSM, though, haven't won a game, haven't really been close to winning a game, but they've been getting so many points each and every game that now they are sitting in 4th. MPS right behind, and Tripods in 6th, now ahead of Team Liquid, NRG, and Dark Zero. All right, that's a lot. We are going to digest all of that and come back with game number 5. Remember, when we do, it's going to be 2 games more to decide. Can Cloud9 get the points they need to put themselves in a position to finally have a chance at LAN? Can Dark Zero prove that they can win a day and maybe have more consistent online performances than we see? Will TSM somehow keep getting points and be our 3rd win, our only team to win 3 match days? Or will we see Furia start to put it all together and scare the whole rest of the world in Apex Legends that they can fight and they can close it out? All of that coming up in just a moment as we head into game 5. We'll take you to a quick break. Be right back. Apex Legends Global Series Monster Energy, your official energy drink for the ALGS.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Vicky Kitty, and I'm joined with Tiff. And before we get into the action here for game number 5, I gotta ask you, Tiff, I'm gonna do exactly what Follow always does to me. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who do you think is gonna take game number 5? Because right now, we've had different winners for each and every single one of these games that we've seen so far in North America.
Fallout always trying to keep things heated with that. And now you, Vicky, I mean, what am I going to do? We've had so many different teams finding success throughout this day. And I kind of feel like this is a time where a team that has already gotten a W needs to step it up and get another one. And I'm looking at Dark Zero. They need to get a W. They need to get as many points as possible. But it looks like Bots needs to find a way out of this scenario, Vicky.
Oh yeah, fighting off against Rack Attack right now, only leaving up to J-Lone to actually get something going on with literally no weapon right now. He finds some light ammo on the ground, he picks up a P2020, and sometimes that's all you need, a P2020 and a dream to go in for a reset.
Hey, whatever works, and Bots on the mend right now, trying to fend off any chance of a third party. We know that there are a lot of teams nearby in this vicinity, not just Rack Attack, but the fact is they are able to reset and get a little bit of stability, and I think that's actually really smart. Maybe disengage from this scenario and go back in once they can heal you, but you hear the audio cues of the res happening, and Impulse has that LOS on Stompez right there in the alternator coming in clutch now. JQ, Jaloan have to stay alive.
And they're actually able to rotate through each other so well. Yes, they weren't able to get that res off the stomps just yet, but the fact that they're picking up what they can work with right now, these Arc Stars now leaving this up to a 2v2 against Rack Attack and Bots. Early contention going down here in the early game right now when we're already in game number 5, as you can see on your kill feed. EA also getting into a nice little skirmish too. Rack Attack now only up to Impulse, and he has literally no meds to work with.
Ooh, but they're able to grab the banner even though they were fully thirsted. So this is going to give them a little bit of time to go out and hunt that last member. You talk about the P2020, those shots coming out, but going to double down and switch weapons. Now can they make this happen? They want to go in and finish off Rack Attack and say, don't even try us.
Oh, it's just a matter of time. Yep, that's going to be it. The last member of Rack Attack out, and J-Lo feeling themselves just a little bit. It's that P2020 letting them know, you know what? You can try to contest us here in Fish Farms, but we're the ones coming out on top, especially in a detrimental game like game number 5. I want to kind of rear back to what we saw in the feed, though, from EA. It looks like EA rotated super quick from Thunderwatch. They got the information off that beacon, and then immediately were able to pressure out Crossino, who were forced to rotate out of there. They lost out on a member, so wondering how they're going to be able to try to make this comeback as we see Bots getting that res onto their third member, the Bloodhound, as we also take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling us, Tiff.
Yeah, the question is, we've got a good look at the ring, although briefly, G2 kind of forced to throw out the Bangalore ultimate and reset, but they are taking to the high ground, utilizing these rocks to get maybe a good LOS. You can hear they're getting some damage, finding some cracks, but the question is, where is this ring going to pull? This is ESA in front of them over at the mill. Meanwhile, Karasuna going to fall. They get evicted from that space and now are falling out of the lobby.
Look, I love Chaos, and I would absolutely love a Jurassic Park finish. We're going to have to see how that fares, because I do know that there is that beacon over by Antenna, as we saw earlier in that mini-mac feed, but G2 getting involved in this fight here in Mill knows that this is an invitation for a third party waiting to happen, especially for the squads that rotate outside of Checkpoint and down Beast. Wondering where NRG ended up rotating here, if they wanted to get involved in this fray, or if G2 are just going to have to deal with Esports Arena and Season.
Season is not a team that I feel like you want to go up against in a 3v3 fight, but G2 also incredibly strong, but they just got moved from that first place leaderboard after Furia took home that win. So now looking to get back at the top, and this is where it's going to have to start. They're going to have to make it out of the mill alive and pick up eliminations along the way. So if you get a third party involved, think of the time to disengage from this fight and maybe hit the road and begin your rotation.
And Season really needs a KP here too if they are able to clean things up, because they're currently sitting in dead last for the day here today, as G2 are looking to try to clean up anybody else here left in the mill area. Season overlooking some of the action. It's Esports Arena who has the high ground right now. I love the weapon loadout for Cody. He's got the bolt, he's got the purple extended energy mag, but can this Thermite put itself and buy into that space? He gets the knock. It's a trade for trade here with Pony going down.
Oh, so much damage going out. You see the passive in making him forced into that moment. He's going to fall Capra. We've seen him in these scenarios time and time again. Has that gold knockdown shield, but now it's Season that's going to be answering the call. The third party is here, and they're going to do their best to clean it up, and that's going to be all they wrote for G2 and ESA in Season, getting some well-needed points here in this scenario.
That's why they were just waiting. They were just waiting to see those knocks come out so that way they could have the opportunity to move in. Yes, we know that Capra is a clutch young god, but there's only so much he could do by himself. Even when he's got that gold knockdown shield, he didn't have the time or the necessary opportunity that Season could provide for him to get that reset.
Hey, but a reset coming in, and now we've got a little bit of calm before the storm. They need to kind of hit the road. That zone pulling straight to the center, and it seems like a lot of teams are finding themselves to the antenna area in Dark Zero. They had a map win over on World's Edge, but have had a rather lackluster performance other than that. So this is a time for them to go ahead and stand up and try to end this match day on a good note.
You sit back and you see where Dark Zero is positioned right now with the information that they have of where the circle is going to be pulling. They could get that information off of the antenna beacon that we do note here. And with that squad actually neighboring the building right next to them, it's Team Smiley. With this team composition, they want to be patient. They want to be able to sit inside this building uncontested with the Watson fences. It'd be a shame if an EMP came out and ruined everything that they've been able to work out for themselves right here. But Team Smiley usually lands in Jurassic Park, so that means that they made the rotation out of here to go through antenna to maybe get the beacon information themselves with the crypto drone.
Yeah, a lot of teams still on the outskirts as well. Season hasn't really made their way into that next zone yet. We just got a little bit of an update. It is going to pull further into it, but it would be really interesting if this zone made its way to that north barometer side. And I think that's going to be the luck of the draw, and where that third ring beacon is going to be mission critical to the success of these teams.
Yeah, especially since we've already lost out on Esports Arena, Rack Attack, G2, Karasuno, the squad that was able to get top 3 in the very last game. Very back and forth between this entire lobby. You highlight squads that definitely need to perform. Team Smiley being right there alongside a lot of our other squads, literally risking themselves in getting relegated into the qualifiers. They need to be able to put some of those extra points on board right now. And sitting in 16th place, they haven't had that performance that they wanted to start things off with on World's Edge. So this is the opportunity for them to be patient while they make their next move.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this and I'm just like, at least no one has straight inted upon them, because I feel like that's a fight that shouldn't happen this early on. They're kind of on that southern edge of the zone. There's approximately 3 or 4 teams in a nearby vicinity. But the question is, where is our map 4 winners of Furia? They're still alive and well in the lobby, probably making their way down from Lightning Rod to wreak havoc on the people in the zone. But I mean, big shout out to them. We covered it a little bit ago, just the trigger discipline. It seems like they're turning over a new leaf, and I feel like this is the Furia of new that is setting a lot of trends, but complexity, sitting in 18th place overall on the day, need to find some success here today.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to see as we take a look at the mini-map and actually where Furia is. They've made their way towards Launchpad, so they rotated from the north side of the map all the way to the side. They had 3 options in terms of 3 beacons in the middle of the rotation, looking at one in Stormcatcher. I believe there was one in Thunderwatch. So they're opting to go for playing on the outskirts of this circle, as we also tune into where Panders is. And their game plan actually is to not only slow rotate into the circle, but you can see that they have no damage on the board, yet they're rocking purple and red Evo shields because they're relying on the replicator to be able to get their Evo shields up to date. And even with the loot that they're working with, you see Panders has a nicely kitted G7, basically fully kitted, minus the double tap not being available here for that gun. But they're looking to play a lot more patiently, like you mentioned before, because like we saw in the last game, their goal was to play for the dub, and the fact that they can slow things down for themselves really highlights where Furia is as a team in the overall standings in North America. This is a squad that absolutely wants to be able to perform on LAN, and they need to be able to put in the points today if they want to have their opportunity at playing in person.
And that is the end goal for a lot of these teams that are duking it out here today. They want the opportunity to play on LAN in person, show themselves that they have what it takes to be a winner, similar to teams like Dark Zero, who have gone and won back-to-back LANs, not necessarily finding success just yet after moving over from APAC South to North America ahead of this Split 1 Pro League, but they are still putting up numbers and just fine. The moment they make it to regional finals, they are the ones to watch when it comes to that match point format.
Crazy to see how they've been doing against the competition in North America too. So close here for a lot of our top end competitions as the Skyward Dive from Complexity comes out. Eye Shining and Lex fall incredibly low though. Lux literally having to split up for the rest of the squad. He goes down immediately and Monsoon gets to survive, but for how long before he finds himself in a tricky situation with Eye Shining?
Look, at least they didn't fall straight down and hover immediately. That is going to be their saving grace. They're trying to hit the res onto Lux immediately and try to scavenge away any teams that are going to be in this area. But you see Furia, they have blood in the water and they are trying to make their move on the edge zone. His Watson throwing out that rolling thunder, just really wanting to inundate and take this team by storm.
Presley as well coming through, not just with the arc star and the kill feed, but getting that finisher onto Lux. That was absolutely huge arc star for them. Furia bullying out NRG. You can see the rolling thunder moving in from his Watson, and now this is the opportunity for Furia to move in from a side of this next circle that isn't going to be very contested here. They know that their backs are cleared with the circle right there behind them.
Yeah, but NRG is one of those teams that doesn't need to be bullied in this moment. Coming into this match day in 12th place, just 4 points shy of finding themselves in the top 10. But Furia is looking to do just that. Let's cut on over to a quick listen in to hear the strats behind this push.
We can craft Megas. Oh wait,
we
don't need it. We don't need it. Come on, let's go.
There's 4 teams here. I highly doubt there's any like.
I might get farmed by this charge rifle, bro. Mine, he sucks.
I highly doubt there's
We
any
might need
there.
a smoke.
I can't smoke you.
Fine.
I can only smoke.
Count his shots. That's like this dude's reloading. Just take my path, Ozir. Yeah. It was better than his, I think. Maybe not. I'm batting right here on this rock if you can make it to this. Careful, there might be a team just sitting up there, by the way.
I doubt it. I highly doubt there's anyone where we're going.
I'm gonna have to bat this. Batting. I have 2 bats after this.
I have 4, 3 now.
Popping a
Here,
sail, actually.
another bat here.
Grab it.
Okay, we only have 30 seconds to do something. So.
Alright, I have 3 cells after this. Here, need 2. Yeah,
2 more.
That'll be fun.
Shield cell here.
Heal up.
I could use that.
There's no one in this building, I don't think.
Grabbing the cells.
There's a team of blonde team right here. We have to just sneak in right behind him and kill him. Unless, is there something playable on my ping?
Play those rocks maybe on the left, but that's about it.
Is it like, or do we have to fight these guys?
You can play that rock.
Is it ping?
But no, it's not. It's not in. It's really bad on the left.
Okay,
I
we're
think.
fine.
They're blowing up on the left side. They're jumping. I'm shooting that. Shooting. Bang, boy. Bang one. Bangs one.
Farm him in that corner.
Bangs one, bro. Shoot her.
Knock low. Knock 1 bullet.
Dead. Nice. Blood. Blood's one.
50 flash. Can we
Nice.
Yeah, blood's one. They bang ulted. I'm going right. I'm going right.
You want to clear this?
Yep.
They bang ulted or Bloodhound ulted. Push them while they're down. I'm swinging right and going right. I got stunned. I can't help you. I cannot help you. I can stand at 2. Standing at 2.
100. I got the re-knock.
Nice. I'm going to go height.
I'm being shot from island. I'm being shot from island.
Just one guy.
We can play this back wall. It's fine. Just chill.
He's hiding in smoke.
Careful. I'm healing.
You going?
On top of me.
I'm going up there.
Playing my life.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Playing my life.
I dropped.
Careful, Watson. Play your life. Fine. He's dead.
Nice.
You're stabilized.
I need light ammo.
Just go ahead.
Got it.
Listen, no one should be able to walk up down here. We can't let a team walk up over here.
Yeah.
Okay, can I loot?
Yeah.
If you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm cannon. Careful.
You want Ultic Cell Pen?
Yeah, I have 0.
Here.
I'm gonna need it.
Ultimate accelerant here. Great for a tactical advantage. Safety's off.
Let's just talk about those comms, Vicky, because this team, Furia, sounding so cool, calm, and collected under pressure. The way they navigated that rotation, and although Watson's doing a little bit of a dancey dance with a Watson defense, utilizing that Bangalore smoke for cover while he drops down to reshield up. You know, not gonna take anything away from the moment of brilliance that they just showed us taking on BR Demons.
Look, it happens to all of us right there, okay? Don't worry, his Watson. We didn't see that. We focused more so on the fact that they fully sent it onto BR Demons right there, Tip. I have to agree with you. And they immediately quick disengaged the moment that they noticed that there was a squad that was shooting at them from Island. Love being able to hear how quick they were to actually split their attention from actually being very aggressive, from fully sending it onto BR Demons, to then disengaging to claim that bridge because they're trying to predict on where the circle could pull. And if it pulled towards the island, we know that early rotates on that island could be very detrimental to the spot that's already holding that spot because there's a lot of open area that you could get pinched in. As we tune into TSM playing on the edge of the circle, Black Hole already used up from Hal. Wondering which of those squads are actually trying to fight for them in terms of trying to rotate in this direction through Jurassic Park.
Hey, yo, that grav lift through the trees was kind of nice. So now they're going to have to make their way into the next zone. And it's going to be HEC that is actually on the edge kind of guarding them. So they're going to have to get through Crook, Enemy, and Hill. And they're looking to prove themselves here and now in match day number 7. But the attribution that TSM has and the Gunny with their 3v3 fights, this will be a joy to watch.
Yeah, Reps doesn't really have lots to work with in terms of the attachments on his car right here, too. And they do note that there is that squad that's right in front of them. Thanks to that heartbeat sensor, it looks like they may take to the skies. Yes, it's going to be the skyward dive, so that way they can fly right on top of HEC. But where are they going to rotate to? HEC already knows that they're going to take the skyward dive with this noise and the circle closing in behind them. So they may try to cut them off. I'm wondering where TSM's going to land here.
Where they land is wherever is going to be free in this zone. And I feel like a lot of teams go to play this bridge, but you know who is by this bridge, and it's his Watson and the likes of Furia. They're already losing out on Reps. CLG with a nice LOS on TSM, and the damage is just coming out in full force.
Oh, and Nano popping off in the kill feed with the Kraber. TSM get wiped out, and that's because the Valkyrie passive couldn't pick up all the members of Furia. They were also underneath the bridge, and when you're out of that line of sight of the Valkyrie, there was no way for TSM to know it was entirely clear. They took the gamble, and they paid for it now. As you can hear the Rampage also blaring somewhere nearby. It's Furia now are trying to plan their next move to rotate into the islands.
And the likes of Cloud9 in the vicinity trying to take up space with those Watson fences. They did really well in map number 4 doing the same thing. They're going the long haul, trying to get as many points as they possibly can, but they've already lost out on Zach Mazer. Down, not able to get a reset because you cannot stop the onslaught of Furia.
Difference is here too is his Watson also doesn't have a Digi-Threat to work with on the Prowler, so he has to back away. He doesn't get to see that sight line through his smoke unless the scan from Panders comes out. They're playing behind these rocks. They're making sure their back is cleared, and with 6 squads left, they have to worry about CLG. Nice crack and finish off from Panders. That's C9 out of this lobby. 5 squads left, and that's CLG, Team Liquid, Furious Season, and HEC.
Wow, HEC is always there, making it time and time again to the end game, but it is Furia who has really stepped up the level of play. Now his Watson, the new kill leader, Season is going to be eliminated as well, bringing it down to the final few teams. You see CLG all the way on the right, Furia on the left, and HEC utilizing the cover of the gravity cannon.
And with little to no cover in the middle of this zone right now, it makes you wonder, with the squads that are left here, the Bangalore from CLG and Furia are going to be amazing. Up we go through the Yeet Cannon is HEC, and they're on the other side of Furia too. So a quick reposition actually using the Gravity Cannon, but they lose out an enemy in the process.
An enemy is one of their really immense fraggers, but when you've got a Kraber in the hands of CLG, it's going to be detrimental. And speaking of detrimental, his Watson has that Rampage revved up once again, ready to go.
Say hello to my little friend. You can take that Gravity Cannon, but it doesn't mean his Watson's not going to wait for you on the other side. A nice little split push here from his Watson. And again, he knows that he's safe to just traverse through this open ground with the safety of his smoke grenades. But you aren't covered entirely here as Furia closing the gap with the Trident to their side.
Yeah, with CLG forcing a lot of their attention onto HEC, leaving Hill that last member standing from the team. Furia, you can see, is doing some shots over to them, and with Hill being in the open, there's just nothing that they can do. So now we have a true isolated 3v3 fight. Panders needs to get fully up to speed and dodge that Kraber that is in the hands of Nano.
Let's see if he can get some magic working off here. The difference is also that Nano has the Digi-Threat on the car. Rolling Thunder getting called in, and they have little to no cover working with. Look how chaotic this is looking. And CLG lose out on one of their members. This may be a 2v2 now with his Watson also going down.
Can Zera and Panders clutch this up? You know Shiv is living for the Bangalore fights, and Furia double down and go back-to-back victories on Stormpoint. What is happening, Vicky?
Furia has woken up. They said, don't worry, we'll make our way to land. Have faith in us as Furia take a back-to-back win, the only team to take back-to-back wins here in North America for today.
This is just everything that a Furia fan could be wanting out of these playstyles here today. And yo, I'm amped. I'm not gonna lie. The move over to Bangalore, just the grind, the passion is totally there. I'm not really sure what his Watson's been up to lately, but it is paying off tenfold. Now the question is, can we get this team onto a LAN setting, and what will they do on match point format?
Look, they may have had a rocky start to this season, but the fact that they are popping off in the way that they are, I mean, when we talk about KP-heavy teams, it's Furia that obviously comes to mind, but the way that they're playing Stormpoint is so good. I believe in that game alone, they must have secured at least 13 KP as a squad. I saw Zera lighting up the kill feed, so I can't wait to see how that's going to compare to the rest of the lobby, looking at the overall leaderboards after game number 5.
Yeah, you're completely accurate. At one point, his Watson was the kill leader of the lobby. So that is just what is a tell, right? And I can't even believe it. That's back-to-back victories for a team that is usually okay with second. I think they're not okay with second anymore. This is a time to shine for that. And I feel like Shiv, I mentioned it earlier, is probably sitting there just so ecstatic. I feel like Bangalore has been coming out in a lot of these team compositions. We saw it in APAC North. I saw it in APAC South. It was made its presence in EMEA. And now here in NA, I mean...
It's crazy. I absolutely love the fact that we're seeing this shine too. The different compositions really coming out, really highlighting what works for some squads more than others. And also just being able to see that same composition play out in the final last 2 squads between CLG and Furia. It's nice to see which of these squads try to take advantage of what they work with in terms of the weapon loadout too. Like we mentioned before, Nano not only had the Kraber, but he also had the Digi threat to work with, but he was at a disadvantage when his Watson decided to split up from the rest of the team and kind of distract the rest of CLG when he decided to split off to the left.
Yeah, that's probably a good move from that as we jump into match number 5 highlights. Kicking it off with bots. They had this opening fight against Rack Attack, and it looked rather stark at first.
It was scary too, because you also saw bots had basically no ammo to work with. That P2020 coming out in clutch, picking up some struggling light ammo here too. They felt themselves, the tactical crouching obviously coming out from that squad. They wanted to have a nice start. And then we also saw a lot of action happening in Mill. But these early fights in Mill could be very risky and inviting to a lot of these third parties with the POIs around that area, looking at down Beast, looking at Checkpoint, and even exiting out of Cenote Caves.
Yeah, that's where we saw Season biding their time before they stepped in at the correct, precise time. And I love every minute of that. CLG finding some early damage here, just wreaking havoc from above, and all of the rotations, complexity after they lost their Valk on that skyward dive just fell into the open arms of the team surrounding them.
And Dark Zero too, finding themselves in that scruffle over by Barometer right now here too. So Fury were able to start rotating and take a longer route outside of Jurassic Park after getting pinged by a squad that was trying to contest them through that choke point that would lead into the Barometer. They had a really nice rotation when they claimed this bridge, and I feel like once they basically bullied BR Demons out, it was TSM that fell into their loving open arms out of a skyward dive.
Yeah, it was kind of like a spider laying in wait, looking to set up their trap. And you see his Watson jumping off the back of Zera's gravity lift to take to the skies and inundate TSM with damage. But here was the time where HEC, you would think that if the ring would pull to them, they would find success. But CLG with a Kraber in hand turned their attention over to them. And essentially that was Hill, the Watson left standing with no movement, forced out into the open where Furia was just able to completely take them apart.
And CLG also landing some Kraber shots at the very beginning right there too. I saw that he was able to get reps over on the other side, and Furia losing out on his Watson. It's fine. He put in enough damage with that charged up Rampage to allow the rest of Furia to clean up shop, taking that game. And it's nice to see because they finished with 13 KP, exactly what I was predicting out here, trying to do that mental math. But CLG also having a great game that they desperately needed. We talk about the squads that need to put on points. Well, here comes CLG getting second place with 9 KP diff.
Yeah, they came into today in 20th place. To define success throughout this and to fight off relegation, they're doing what they need to do. But HEC, once again, finding success and being really consistent. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the back half of the results, 11th through 20th. BR Demons finding themselves in that early scuffle, only able to get 2 points. But now teams like G2, Dark Zero, NRG, they are going to have to double down in game number 6, Vicky.
Yeah, this is crazy to see how this played out here. As we take a look at the overall results right now, Furia bridged up that gap between themselves and the rest of this lobby right now. You talk about the consistency of HEC, formerly known as Atlanta Premier, now free agents out here still showing off their consistency, are right behind them with 51 points. A pretty big gap, though, between our top 3 squads, and even looking down at MPS, just 2-point difference here, or rather 4-point difference here between themselves and G2.
Yeah, it's really tough knowing that TSM won the full first matchups that they had against this group, but unfortunately finding themselves 40 points away from Furia that's sitting atop the leaderboard. But we only have one more match where these teams will have the ability to prove themselves. But before that, we're going to cut to a quick break, and then we'll be back with match number 6.
WD Black is the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you're enjoying the action here in the ALGS North America edition. Right now, Furia are leading the way in first place with 77 points to their name. It's insane to see here, Tiff, but can they go for another back-to-back win? I'm not too sure. They've been playing very smart here on Storm Point.
Look, we know that Ascend is one of those teams that have been able to find multiple match day wins, multiple match wins within a series, and Furia trying to double down and go for a three-peat. I know I was asking for a three-peat for TSM on Group A versus B earlier in the pre-show, but I think I'm now just going to say send it. I want Furia to go three-peat wins here on the day, and what better way to do it while we kick off and wait for match number 6.
Yeah, and to reel back on that, you mentioned TSM, and TSM currently are sitting in 5th place in the overall standings for this day alone, and they're tied actually with Tripods, who have also been taking a much slower approach into entering through these circles, but they do find themselves accumulating a good amount of KP while they're at it.
Yeah, it hasn't been the most flashy of performances per se, but they're always there. Every time we come to the match results, they're within the top 6, finding every bit of points that they can scavenge by. And just honestly, I feel like coupling that with the passion that the team has, it's really going to show. I would hate to see them get relegated. I want to see them have their chance in the regional final, and I think they're doing what it takes to get there.
Yeah, it's nice to talk about those squads, too, that have been able to perform to try to at least get into the top 10 if they have the opportunity, top 9, rather, to perform in LAN with feeling some sense of comfort. And then, of course, the squads that are trying to avoid being relegated into the qualifiers. You talk about the likes of CLG, who just came out from getting 2nd place in that final game, C9 that absolutely need to keep performing, and G2, who've had a pretty nice day so far, but didn't have the best of the games in that last game where they inevitably got third-partied after losing out on that fight against Esports Arena. Though Esports Arena is another one of those teams that want to stay consistent if they want to be in the top 10 spot.
Well, I guess only time will tell here in match number 6 of who is going to win this match day, but it's looking like Furia has the best chance. They've spent the entirety of the day really trying to separate themselves from Pack. So all of the other teams have the odds stacked against them, because with that lead that Furia has secured for themselves, it would take a miracle to unearth that from them.
Yeah, who could probably take that from them? I mean, HEC has been very consistent throughout the day. We keep talking about them for a reason. I mean, if second place isn't their favorite game, then they definitely want to be able to at least secure a W if they can by the end of the day today. It would be really nice to see if they could finally get it in game number 6.
As we see all the teams kind of dropping into their designated POIs. If you are just joining us here for Apex, maybe for the first time you've stumbled upon the ALGS, well, welcome. A lot of these teams will call out their drop spots ahead of time and relatively will stick to that consistency. And if they need to switch it up per the group matchups, they will. But you can see we're getting yet another center zone here on Stormpoint, but it's shifted slightly to the left where Cloud9 has already found themselves into the next zone, but bots in that early contention once again.
Nobody is safe out here if you're bots versus Rack Attack, apparently. This is another 50-50 that we saw in the last game. We're seeing it happen all over again right now. They had limited ammo to work with, and it seems to be the same case currently here. So you can say JQ with only limited heavy ammo, and he gets taken down immediately by the massive Impulse's hands.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation to what we saw in match number 5 with the backs against the wall. They were able to step up and reassess the situation. Both of these teams kind of taking a timeout in the middle of their fight, but you can see Stomps right there trying to get the full thirst. Maybe they can get themselves a shield swap from that moment, maybe get the reset onto JQ, because yeah, I like how they do that. They do genuinely call a timeout in the middle of this fight.
Hold on, let's reset real quick. Epos broke down the door and he gets blasted for it. Unfortunate here because it's bots that actually come out on top of having this advantage, and they also have way more at risk than Rack Attack do. They are sitting in 14th in the overall standings, whereas Rack Attack are in last place right now. Maybe they can clutch things out, and Rakanishu does clutch it out. Bots get eliminated in this final game. They won't have an appearance, but Rack Attack have now an opportunity to turn things around for themselves.
Hey, yo, a 50-50 contention going up against each other multiple times, but you're right, this time a different result. Rack Attack and Rakanishu able to recover both banners from the teammates and are heading straight to that beacon. They want to get their teammates back and get looted up and go on that rotation.
Look, these may not be the top 10 squads that we're looking at right now, but it's always nice to see early 50-50 contentions continue on without a squad backing down. That's what I always like to see. Bring on the chaos, as we're going to see Rakanishu get their squad members right back into the action. No other squad in the area right now to contest them in this respawn, so they can have some room to breathe for right now.
This is kind of interesting. I'd be curious to get a good look at the map, but E8 also finding some early action here, and that's going to be Karasuno that's putting a thorn into the side of E8 Mercy. So now a 3v2 scenario. The question is, it looks like E8's going to go ahead and disengage, hit the rotation, and say, nah, we're not even going to go for that banner at this point.
Yeah, I'm wondering here, a bit of revenge maybe? Because we saw that E8 try to also send it onto Karasuno early on in the last game in the middle of the rotation when they were exiting out of Thunderwatch. So great start here for Karasuno now, as they're going to be able to try to see where the other stragglers are from E8. Like you mentioned before, I think they're just going to be able to back away, maybe hope that Karasuno isn't going to try to babysit that banner so they can at least get that banner, get that respawn if they have access to a replicator or a respawn beacon, get their third member right back into the early action that we've been seeing so far in our final game.
Yeah, they could play a little bit of edge here. There is a beacon available to them in Stormcatcher, so they could double down, push up to that, hang on the outskirts of the ring, grab that, push in once they have the beacon information. But a lot of teams starting to really set up shop inside of Antenna, so we could see the ring pulling that way.
Karasuno do have the seer, so with the heartbeat sensor, they could actually see if E8 are trying to get that banner. They're holding back just a little bit. Looks like they do see them. Yes, here's that heartbeat sensor. You can see it light up just a little bit from James Fearless' point of view. Trying to see if they could sneak their way into trying to catch EA. EA actually hears them. I think EA is actually just running away right now, calling it quits if they can, because then they'll be out in the open on this uphill area where they don't want to get caught in the middle of dying early in 19th place for this final game.
Yeah, at that point, it's not even worth it. You don't want to go out this early. Play it out as a duo. We've seen NRG do that. A lot of teams finding success and just having to double down and rat it out. We saw Furia, his Watson himself, having to rat to multiple top 3 finishes. So playing it out a duo, at least you've got the power of friendship on your side. You got one of your teammates.
Yeah, but at least no skyward dive, and that's what's scary here for a squad like EA, who likes to rely on the skyward dive when it comes to these later rotations. They like to play by the edge, and they won't have that opportunity. So a different plan, as we see BR Demons also having to play at a disadvantage. Losing out on reads here means that they lose out on the opportunity to get that scan. They're backing up for right now. Hopefully, they can try to reposition with that squad having the high ground over them in Barometer.
Yeah, we talk of a lot of contention over here at Barometer. BR Demons was the one that actually unseated G2 from this particular drop spot, and now losing out, unable to get the banner on reads. Vayne and Aiden are also relegated to just being a duo, and the team at hand is going to be CLG. It seems that they're taking a lot of time to get eliminations early on, but a little bit of long distance pokes are going to help these teams farm up their evos.
Crazy to see so much early action already in this early game, rather for this final game here. And BR Demons having to play this out as a duo alongside another one of our teams. Now they have to forcibly play this patiently. Yeah, they have the beacon right next to them, but they couldn't get the banner. Team Smiley still playing very patiently inside these buildings on the outskirts of Antenna. But they're going to be waiting here while trying to secure themselves some placement points and also playing that right next door to this other squad.
I feel like I'm having a little bit of deja vu with this one, Vicky. I know one of our first times on the mic, we had like 3 climatizer zones in World's Edge, but a lot of moments here in the southeastern side of Storm Point, and Team Smiley doing what they do best, holding up inside of a building, just trying to contain their space. The question is, will someone int on them? We've seen a lot of teams get kind of antsy and go on that aggressive front, but none to really take down Team Smiley early on just yet.
Yeah, I do think that's TSM that's actually trying to poke at them from afar here too, with other squads making the rotation through Antenna, Team Liquid, EA as a duo having to play from the other side. You talk about inting onto another team sometimes, holding onto those buildings are way more detrimental in terms of calling out your spacing and seeing where this next circle is going to be pulling, because we know with squads making the rotation through Antenna and knowing where this circle is going to be pulling, we're getting a very similar circle to what we had saw in the last game, but this may be pulling more so towards Antenna, so those squads are going to be in the area really short.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a time in the game where having that third beacon is going to prove fruitful. And G2 utilizing the armory on the outskirts of the ring to just gear up, maybe farm those shields just a little bit more, grab some bats and some smart loot, but also just kind of biding their time. You know, they didn't make it out of the mill on the last match, so still alive and well, looking to really seed themselves into the top 3 position on the day.
Yeah, taking things slow too. We know that they are able to rotate out of the mill. Not too sure if they found themselves in that fight versus Season that we saw, just try to rotate on the outskirts of the mill. We saw them earlier on make their appearance in that third party versus G2 and Esport Arena, but Esport Arena is also taking a much slower approach as we see other squads playing on the outside of the circle. Dark Zero taking the skyward dive to rotate into that next circle. They're going the extreme long way, actually rotating from the direction that G2 just came in right now. So if they do come across G2, they're going to have to worry about the fact that G2's got a lot more loot to work with.
At least they have the ability to grab a trident here, hit med kits well, perfectly timed, hop in the whip, and just go on that extremely long rotation. The only reason they would be taking such a long rotation into that next zone is probably because they were essentially being gate kept and they wanted to get into that next ring unharmed. And sitting in 11th place on the day, coming off a win of one of the maps in World's Edge, they're going to really need to find some success here and now.
Yeah, especially with that trident here too, they get into that next circle like you were mentioning before, and with them playing so hard on the edge right now, you can tell what their game plan is currently. They don't want to put themselves at risk if they need to perform. They're on the cusp of being in that 10th place spot, so they're going to prioritize getting the beacon right here uncontested to get that in that set of information to figure out where they want to situate themselves in.
I'd be really curious to see the results of that beacon information to see just where that ring is going to pull, but it looks like E8 is going to find themselves in a bit of a scuffle. An enemy seer exhibit is out in a black hole trying to get in, but Golden doing a really nice job suppressing the push coming into their building. This is going to be on Rack Attack, Vicky.
Yeah, this is beautiful too. Love the follow-up from this duo. Golden getting most of the damage and a huge grenade onto C-Top. Oh, are you kidding me? That was disgusting. Amazingly placed from EA. As a duo, they're doing this amazing follow-ups and they've completely wavered off that squad.
doing what they need to do, but the issue is there is always a time for third parties, and Karasuno is looking to get in on this. They need to do what it's going to take, currently coming into this 17th place overall, grabbing a nice down on to Colden.
Oh, hopefully EA is at least able to finish off their knocks, because then this would be a very sad situation with Karasuno now making their rotation into getting this third party. We note that Rack Attack, with that one last solo, were able to get away, get out of the fray, and it looks like EA get eliminated right now. So maybe now they're going to be able to get escorted right back to the lobby, with Karasuno going to be able to take control over the building that they were holding instead.
Oh man, and BR Demon still in this extended fight with CLG, it appears. And the question is, this has been so long, right? And it's just been going the entire duration of this match. The question is, who's gonna put this fight to bed?
Now you see me, now you don't. Jumping all over the zip line. Sometimes you slip and slide, and it's a little pesky to try to find them. And you can see CLG just chasing down that member over on that other squad of BR Demons. He's literally running for his life, and CLG is not having it.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a little interesting. Dark Zero finally making their way into the edge of zone. NRG in the nearby distance. So if they don't finish this, they're going to have to face the likes of those two powerhouses.
Now you see me, now you don't. Look at that. I love the gravity lift right there to make sure that DB can't contest. Do they manage to get away? No, you don't. It's the line of sight of DB and that G7 scout. See you later, BR Demons, out in 17th place for this final game.
Wow, CLG doing what they need to do. They do not want to get relegated at any point in time in this. Currently coming into match day number 7, 20th place overall, and G2 finding a little bit of scuffle, but Resulta able to put a finishing blow into the final ESA teammate, now sent back to the lobby, able to grab the banners, but now they've got to get into the zone, find a beacon to get their Zine back.
And getting some revenge while they're out of here, too. Let's not forget, it was ESA that came out on top in their last 3v3 fight before ESA got third-partied by Season. So G2 coming out after taking care of ESA means that they're escorted to the lobby in 16th place for this final game. And with this rotation, they took their time like ESA. As we take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling, it's pulling towards the south of Antenna. So you can expect that beacon and Antenna to probably get contested. Team Liquid does have control over that building right now, but it's going to be chaotic, leaving that choke point into the southern side of that circle.
I really like the positioning of tripods. That hill, it kind of is a downward hill into the buildings where Complexity and MPS are located. But if tripods nestle themselves along kind of that cliffside at the top of the hill, they could just bide their time and let the chaos ensue. And you know, Nick Merckx has probably got a 30-30 in his hand, and he's looking to take some pop shots at nearby teams.
And he's been able to find a lot of success with that, especially when it comes to landing those headies. As Dark Zero, we're going to be able to tune into their rotation, leaving out of the outskirts of Barometer. Nice crack right here, and we saw the cleanup on the other side of that Watson fence. Dark Zero trying to take control over the underside of this building, or rather this bridge right now, with CLG matching them.
Oh wow, CLG putting a lot of damage down onto NRG. So this is a 3-team scuffle, and Nano and Co have the upper hand. NRG is gonna go out in 15th place.
Oh no, that is not what you want to see from Energy right now. They needed to perform. They're sitting in 9th in the overall standings for the day today before this final game. And now CLG coming out on top means extra KPA in their favor. Is Dark Zero gonna beat CLG, or rather Energy back in the lobby right now? CLG trying to reset currently.
Dark Zero, this is a must-win fight for them against CLG because they're facing just outskirts the top 9, and you can see it. They can clutch up when it matters most. Now going in for that res on Zero, CLG being escorted back to the lobby. Now the question is, will anyone else decide to third-party this fight? It was a fight between 3 teams. Can we make it 4?
With the circle closing in behind them, it could easily happen for the squads rotating on the outskirts of Antenna. Also love to see that Gen eat up those Bangalore smokes. What a griefing moment here as TSM now in the fight themselves, also being able to get the double crack. You see the scan here as Hal is forced to play this over to the side, but here comes Reps into his open arms. He's going to be able to get that follow-up for Hal.
Oh, this team, they work so incredibly well together, and it's going to be Furia on the other side. Pander's the Bloodhound, last one standing. We've seen his Watson have to wrap, but I don't think TSM's going to let them out of their sights, and Verholst deals the finishing blow. Furia eliminated, and Verholst, your new kill leader.
And they were so low here too. They need to go in for a reset currently. Verho's dancing on top of that doorway real quick while the other squad is trying to shoot at them from the outside of that building. I believe that could be G2 with their late rotation on the outside of the circle. Ooh. It is. So they're actually going to be waiting on the outside of this building. I like the fact that they didn't fully send it into that building because they didn't have enough information to know if they had the opportunity before TSM was able to reset.
Doing what they need to do, sitting in top 3 overall for the day, but this opens the door. Can a team throw up enough points in this match to really challenge Furia? Or did Furia do enough and pick up some eliminations along the way to further distance themselves from the competition?
Furia had a pop-off day today, but they won't be able to have that final moment, that final marathon run for this final game. TSM now instead are going to be able to have that opportunity. They know that G2 is right there. They're looking at them through the windows. Who's that puppy staring in the window? And G2 is just kind of looking at them from afar, waiting to see what their next move is going to be. Because the moment they try to rotate right before them, they have their backs now open to TSM.
This would be so interesting if G2 had a Watson in their legend composition. They could just go ahead and fence off the surrounding area.
That would be funny actually here. But G2 are one of the squads that have been rocking that Bangalore and Bloodhound from the very beginning. Let's jump into a quick listening with G2 to see what their next move is going to be with TSM inside this building.
You have to answer horizon with them.
I will, depending on where they go.
They're gonna do it after this can. I'm using my ult. Swing. 15's here. 30 on him. Go left. Take this here.
No, myself.
Get the swap on the valve.
That's hard. Nice. Get for the top. You can miss.
No way. Grab Kelly.
Hold tight. I got your back.
No.
No.
You gotta go. I'm just dead.
Bogey there.
Oh no, what intense comes at the very end, even getting shot from underneath the truck. Are you kidding me? The circle was also closing in right behind them. It was gonna be way too much damage before you could go in for a reset, and they even had the gold knockdown shield. TSM got cleaned up by G2, but G2 follows shortly right afterwards.
I mean, they were trying to wait it out, and I respect that play, but now TSM out of the lobby. Now they're going to fall as well. Now jumping on over to HEC, who finds themselves in second place currently overall on the day, utilizing that Trident for cover, and it's just an absolute chaotic fest as they take down Dark Zero. The question is, can enemy stack it up against the likes of a former LAN champion? And no, they are going to fall, but Season wants in on this as well.
And with HEC going down, it looks like Furia is not going to get contested for that #1 spot now. As Season now make their move, Hakulo gets deleted, and no other than Dark Zero are making their appearance here for this fight. Going uphill by the Yeet Cannon, they lose out on Jen Burden currently right now, but Zero being on the Seer is going to give him the information that he needs to make sure that Sharky's smoke grenades are enough for them to go in for a reset.
I mean, and they've got plenty of death boxes to utilize for shield swaps because you can just see all of their enemies that they have taken down. They have a Trident for cover. They have a gravity cannon, or as Vicky would say, a Yeet cannon available for them to utilize as cover as well. But you come down to it, we have 5 squads remaining in the final game of this A versus B matchup. It's Complexity, it's MPS, Team Liquid, Tripods, and Dark Zero.
Love how you highlighted our final squads here because Team Liquid being in between 2 squads, make it 3. I mean, if you compare it to Complexity, who could focus them down too, right alongside MPS, Team Liquid are in a tough spot, and it's Tripods that have patiently been waiting on this side of the rock from the very beginning. Let's not forget exactly where Nickmercs was positioned at the very beginning of this game when they decided to hold that hill.
Yeah, this is proving to be an exciting game for Tripods. We said that they needed to step it up in order to not get relegated down to the outskirts of that top 20. And Nickmercs and co doing what they do best. They take smart, calculated movements, and we saw it in that last match day where they were calling out their rotations to the south of Thunderwatch and now finding success once again on the outskirts of Antenna. The question is, look at the Skyward Dive from Complexity. That puts them in the LOS of every team, Vicky.
I can't say I agree with this right now because they were taking that gamble and they know that there was a squad in the back end here. They lose out on Monsoon, they lose out on Lux, and they know that there's only 1 member left for Complexity to deal with, just trying to restabilize. Dark Zero have them in their sight, but they may get lucky here if Tripods continuously pressures them out.
Look, I don't know what's going on, but Dark Zero is having one of the best games of this match day. They have at least 12 eliminations available to this team. If they can couple it with a massive win, we're looking to see an insane game.
It's the better late than never story that I love to see here for Dark Zero. As you can see, Man is also getting pressured out. Team Liquid got wiped out with some help from Tripods and MPS. So Tripods literally splitting their attention in two different directions. They want to get this KP. They clean up another squad. It's going to be MPS out of this lobby, leaving us down to 3 squads in this lobby currently. It's Complexity versus Tripods versus Dark Zero.
Complexity is just trying to chill over on the right side of the zone. Like, nah, nobody look over here. Just take that isolated 3v3. We're not doing anything of value, just trying to reset. We're just a little bit of a duo. Leave us be.
And right now, Dark Zero, you mentioned it before, they have 12 KP in total right now after this game currently as it stands. And Tripods, although they have the positioning advantage, you can only imagine how that 12 KP is going to allow Dark Zero to play this final fight with confidence. Yes, they're playing up the low ground right now. Yes, Tripods have the best spot right now, and they're also holding each individual rock to prevent any sort of space from Complexity sneaking up right behind them. So this is a really good spot for Tripods to win this game.
The reset that Complexity was able to get for themselves after that Skyward dive gone wrong, they have the Jenny out. They've got the fences. Now you see Nick Mercs and co uniting under the forces of one rock. It feels like they're going to turn their attentions to the duo, play maybe for eliminations as opposed to the win.
See what Complexity could work out here with just Monsoon and Eye Shining here from Complexity. The smoke grenade out, not from Complexity's side, but to actually negate any sort of sightline from them, probably from Dark Zero playing behind these pillboxes. Here comes a Seer ult that you currently see right here. All the information possible for Tripods to feel that extra safety.
Oh, you can see the Bangalore ultimate going out from Sharky as they swing on to Complexity, and that's all they wrote. Now Dark Zero face to force their attention onto Tripods. This is going to be a telling moment for them.
Huge creeping barrage right now from Dark Zero. They have the health advantage, they got the cracks, and now it's just a matter of time for Dark Zero to finish off Tripods. They have the high ground now. There's nowhere to run, and they circle around, and Dark Zero is your last game winner for North America Day 7.
Look, that's gotta feel good. They were able to get themselves a win on World's Edge. Rather lackluster games after that, and finally stepping up to the plate with a massive win here on the final game of the day.
Gotta bring Rain Day in right after that, because after the action that we saw go down in Game 6, Rain Day, they had 12 KP before fully sending it onto Complexity, and then before wiping out the rest of Tripods with an insane Thunder Barrage.
Dark Zero were a little, I don't know, consistent in terms of the way they didn't want to be. 10th place, 11th place, 9th place. They're 10th in overall. They're 11th, I think, in overall standings. No, they're 10th. It just was like one of those days where it felt like it was going to be the same thing. They enter Game 6, 10th place as well. Not anymore after that. They do a massive showcase of their talent, and they take down most of the lobby. I think they jumped into 5th, maybe 4th after that win. And that, to me, is what I was waiting to see from Dark Zero. Could they show up? Could they clutch up and get that win? Could they do it online? We know how good they are in LAN. And once it got to that 3v3 situation, Tiff, we've seen them do that in the biggest of stages, you know, whether it's TSM Optic going against each other and Dark Zero peeling around the corner, winning champs. They just know how to manage that, and they did it right there.
They definitely did, and they beat out the teams that they needed to take down. Complexity sitting above them on the day. You know, they had 8th place coming in on the overall standing, so they are inside that top 9, where Dark Zero was coming in at 10th with Season and NRG hot on their tails. So Dark Zero really needed to find success here because there were only 2 more match days, which means 1 more day of play for Dark Zero to find themselves in that upper echelon of these teams. Sure, they may have solidified themselves a spot in the regional final, but you're not guaranteed to go to Split 1 playoffs unless you can find yourself in that top 9.
Yeah, the top 9 is really the key, because then if you're top 10, you're thinking, well, okay, maybe I'll get pushed back if one of the top 10 teams wins, and then I'll become the next 9. But no, you want to be in top 9. So they still have work to do. I think they have done the work here. I think they will probably be, I would say, probably around 6, maybe 7. It's everything that they need, though. They got to get past that just middle way point. And Vicky, looking at just the way this game unfolded, you saw Complexity. They put an end to a story that had G2 written all over it, had TSM written all over it, a terrible fight gone wrong, couldn't get the res off, but that was how Complexity got to that final moment.
Yeah, with a very risky skyward dive too at the very end there. Although the decision from Dark Zero to fully send it onto Complexity actually may have given them the opportunity to be right on top of tripods by a single point. If my math is correct, that would allow Dark Zero to be in top 3 at the end of today. And when we talk about performing, that is definitely the best way to end your day today.
NRG didn't have the best day. That's okay, but I do want to talk about tripods who got better and better. They were consistent every single game. They were bringing in 5 to 7 points. This one was their biggest point total yet, Tiff.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to remember, tripods, this is their first foray into the professional Split 1 Pro League for them as a team. And I feel like you have to utilize this as a learning experience, but they're doubling down and showing out just what skills they have available to them and learning along the way. And they just keep getting better and better.
Shout outs to my buddy Austin from the pickleball court. Saw me the other day. I was getting a couple games in with my dad. Said, hey man, I'm rooting for tripods this weekend. I certainly think tripods fans around the world will be happy about that and their performance today. TSM, I think they showed up pretty well also. We're in contention for top 5. They added about 5-6 points to where they ended, where they started. So they are definitely a team that will be happy with their result and probably on the way to securing a spot at LAN if they do this just one more day in a row. But HEC, Vicky, had a chance, and they lost out here. They were really the only ones who could challenge Dark Zero.
They still had a really great day, though, and they were one of those squads that were also playing in the bubble alongside Dark Zero. I think before today, they were sitting in the 9th overall standings in North America, so HEC being as consistent as they have been, yeah, they didn't get the dub, but the fact that they always found themselves in the top 3, top 5 situation was a great result for them.
This last little moment, too, with the Bangalore ultimate, man, I don't think I've seen a chunkier Bangalore ult. That creeping barrage, rolling thunder, whatever you like to call it. It has definitely done a lot. Don't worry, we know who's that up top. It's Dark Zero. Tripods on 2nd place, Complexity 3rd, but look at that, 28 points. That, I think, is our highest total of the day. Dark Zero holding it down. MPS, Team Liquid rounding out our top 5 here. And, of course, Season, HEC, Rack Attack, G2, and TSM. Let's head over to our non-performers, or at least those on the back half of today's lobby. Tiff, in terms of final games, it was Cloud9, just a point. Not enough, though.
Not enough, but the likes of NRG finding themselves on the second half of this page once again is just really telling to the level of talent that are in these lobbies. And I just feel like when it comes to Pro League, NRG just hasn't been able to hit their stride just yet. And you know Sweet is not going to be happy with this performance. Back to the drawing board once again. They've been really doing a lot to test different legend compositions during the midweek times. And honestly, I'm just ready to see something pay off for them. Now with only 2 match days left in the Split 1 Pro League, it might be too late.
All right. Well, we're heading into our standings, the moment you have been waiting for. To see how things go. TSM, overall, they're going to be at 88 points. Team Liquid, 87 after it's all. HEC moved themselves up quite a bit. The guard obviously didn't play today, but Dark Zero, look at what, 5-6? They're 5. So they've gotten themselves out of that top 10 spot. MPS jumping into 9th. Vicky, give me your thoughts here. Furia also jumping up to 7, and Tripods making a move from 6, from where they were to 16.
Yeah, I was about to say, Furia making that huge leap, going up 10 spots before the day even started today. They started in 17th and now are sitting in 7th. Also looking at the other side of the coin, maybe not so great news as Esports Arena now moving away from being in 7th place before today all the way to that 10th place spot, which puts them at risk of not making it into LAN.
Showing not just this, but page 2, big shout out to Luminosity, already sitting in 6th. They haven't even played as well today. That's just showing you how good they are and how well they've been performing. Page 2, though, Tiffany, Complexity, rounding out our top 11 down to 20, but then 22, 21, Cloud9 still sitting right there.
Look, the only thing I see is FaZe in 19th, Optic Gaming in 20th. Both of these top-tier organizations, sure, they didn't play today, but they are facing relegation breathing down their necks. That's kind of a moment where you've got to say this is scary. But G2 able to get themselves up just a couple positions to really give them just a little bit of a safety net.
All right, let's take a look at how the day finished. You can see that's the overall standings, but in terms of today, it was Furia who took first. HEC Dark Zero with that win pushed themselves into third. Tripods grabbing fourth place. G2 with a fifth place finish to Vicky, and the rest of our top 10 played out here. Let me know what your thoughts are here, how the day finished. For
looking at esports arena, unfortunately falling behind, like I mentioned before. NRG didn't have the performance that they may have wanted right here too, because they definitely also needed to perform to be consistent. CLG though at least could have a little bit of breathing room. You know, they pulled themselves up, they needed to perform, and they did perform a lot better of a day today.
All right, Tiff, well, good team performances from Furia. HEC kind of goes without saying that they'd probably be in the top kill leaders too.
Yeah, as well as Zera leading the charge. You see 3 members of Furia within that top 5. That just goes to show you kill-heavy teams can find success on a day. We saw it happen in EMEA. It's like Vex Gaming kind of kicked off the trend, right? Furia doubled down and proving that you could do it. But I got to give a shout out to HEC's Enemy, getting in top 3 as well as Dark Zero in second.
Big moments here, and congratulations to all the players who performed today. Of course, when you look at the totality of a day, the players are very important, but there are always a few that stand out. Let's go ahead and start the conversation on the ones that caught Vicky and Tiff's eye. All right, Vicky, let's get into it with you first. I want to know who is your kind of standout player for today in North America.
Look, every single member on this squad did amazing. You saw them all on the overall kill leaderboards, but there's one player that I always enjoy watching, especially when it comes to that new Bangalore play that we've been seeing him pop off on in ranked and in the competitive ALGS space. It's got to be his Watson out here. The rest of Furia, I want to also highlight Zera, who popped off in their own regard, but specifically his Watson with those smoke grenades, also having the ability to enable the rest of his squad in this team composition with the Bloodhound does show that Valkyrie-less compositions are here, and they're finding the success that they need. Fury specifically needed to have pop-off moments today because just like the performance in the last ALGS day, they had a great day, but they started off very rocky at the very beginning part of the season. So to be able to sit down and find themselves in the top 10, they needed to have a lot more of a patient day, and I like the call out on Storm Point where they were able to take 2 games back-to-back. But his Watson with his calm and collected comms, I really like the way that this squad in general likes to compare with one another.
Seems like we saw a little bit of growth from them today, and hopefully we get to chat about that. Tiff, what about you? Who stood out?
Look, I want to highlight another Valkless composition. It's going to be the likes of G2 and Chaotic in particular. Found a lot of success here today. They were facing that level outside the top 20 relegation, and they stepped up to the plate to do what it needed to. You got Chaotic coming on over from the UK to join G2 after Gent goes over to Tripod, so they really needed to work through all the things. You said they faced a lot of kind of trials and tribulations throughout playoffs, not making champs. And when you've got a new trio and finding synergy within that, you've got to lay it out on the line. Chaotic on the horizon, finding success alongside the likes of G2. I'm just really impressed with how they stepped up to bat today.
Well, of course, everyone has a role to play when it comes to Apex Legends and winning, and it seemed like G2's Chaotic much. And of course, his Watsons from Furia were the standouts for us here. That has been your Monster MVP players for this afternoon. And in North America, you will see even more great performances in day 8 and day 9. We love to tag it and support. And congratulations to the people who stood out for all of us there. And thanks again, Vicky and Tiff. All right, so Vic, I want to kind of get some general thoughts here heading into it. Was this a surprising day for you? We saw obviously dominant performance from Furia. Was this what you expected? How did this go in terms of what you had planned for day 7 here in North America?
I was expecting Furia to pop off today. Honestly, they had a great day, but what did surprise me was how consistent HEC remained. I mean, we talked about some of these heavy fraggers. I feel like some, honorable mentions has to be Enemy, Dark Zero really pulling things off at the very end with a heavy KP game. The only squad to be able to do it with the number that they were able to secure that W on, specifically looking at Zero, who was able to really put in a lot of that damage. So both these teams needed to perform so that way they could have at least some room for comfort, and they did just that, now securing their spot in the top 9.
Tiff, surprise performances here? Anything that caught your eye?
Look, I'm honestly not surprised that Furia came out on top. Obviously, they have what it takes to throw down amazing strats and gameplay like that. I love that you highlighted Zera as an honorable mention. And HEC, you know, that former Atlanta Premier roster, was talking about some of those moments where their IGL Hill found success in navigating their team to a map win in the prior match day. They had to make sure that they disengaged from a fight, rotated all the way to the opposite side of a zone. And when you have the tutelage of a great IGL, it can really make or break a team. And I really hope that they find a new organization to rep with their talents.
Well, obviously, strong performances from them, and they were the only ones who could maybe catch the top dogs. But at the end of the day, it proved unavoidable that Furia, after their 2 big game wins and their consistent performance on the day, would take the W. And standing by with us, we have a chance to talk to one of the members from said team. It's Furia's Zera Tricky with us. And Zera, congratulations on the win. I want to just open it up and say congrats. Great performance today. How you feeling?
Thank you. We're feeling pretty good. You know, we've had a kind of rough start, but we're really bringing it back, so we're pretty happy about that.
Talk to me. I want to ask a little bit about your rough start and the journey to get here. What was going on behind the scenes with that? Obviously, you guys end on such a high note, winning $300,000 at championships, kick off the new season. It's not what you expected. Walk me through what you guys had to go through behind the scenes as a team to come back and bounce back the way that you have today.
So with champs, you know, everyone knows we played like a really off-meta composition. We were playing like Seer, Valk Horizon against a bunch of Gibby Caustic teams. And the comp is kind of just designed to like, you know, beat that and destroy it. But everyone got on top of the same comp as us. So it's like, it's not meant to kill the same comp. So it was a little more, you know, we had to kind of figure out like what adjustments to make. And I think we've, you know, figured it out.
Figured it out indeed. I mean, you had 3 back-to-back match days at the start of the Split 1 Pro League where you were less than 10 points, coming off a 2nd place in your last match day and now finding a victory. I've got to give it to y'all, because some of those games where you had yourselves positioned just on the edge of zone, it looked like you guys were exercising some trigger discipline or maybe some insightful moments where you didn't really full int on a team, you know, play for second and get the eliminations. You were playing to win today. Is there a reason in particular for that shift?
Well, sometimes we realize, we look back at like some of our other tournaments, for example, like champs, and we definitely were a little too aggressive and we kind of lost focus of like the bigger picture. So if there was any listen-ins, like there was a lot of times today where we would try to kill a team and we were kind of just like, hold on, just take your time. Because, you know, if we have 2 downs on a team, there's no reason for anyone to go down. Like if any of us goes down on our side when we have 2 downs, it's like really bad. So, you know, we're just taking it slow. We can win the game. We don't have to get all 3 KP. We can take it slow, bat, heal, you know, things like that. So a lot of it's just like us kind of thinking back and kind of just making sure we're focused on the overall picture and not just worried about winning the little fight that doesn't really matter if we die.
Yeah, and I think you did a really great job. We did get some of those listen-ins on the main broadcast, and we heard that reflected in those communications. You did prioritize rotations and being the smart team of the day, which obviously led you to be victors on the rest of the competition. Vicky, I'm curious to hear what you've got.
Yeah, to kind of bounce off of Tiff actually right here, you guys are a heavy fragging team. We all have seen that time and time again, and you guys are constantly putting in numbers. I know today you popped up. I saw that you guys also got to meet up with each other in person, and right actually in my backyard in Wynwood, Miami. So it's nice to see that you guys have that great dynamic in person too. So to follow up from that, I believe today is the first day that you guys were able to secure a dub. You guys had a lot of 3rd places, 2nd places, but it wasn't the dub, and you get 2 back-to-back. I wanted to ask you, how is your dynamic in person with your team and over in comms now that you guys are taking a much more passive role on Storm Point to secure the W?
So I would say we're really good at like talking to each other. We don't really like, if someone makes a mistake, you know, like, here, you did this wrong, like, you know, you could have done this better. It's never like aggressive or anything like that. It's never like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you know, there's no reason to like do that. So we're pretty like chill with each other, I guess. Like we're really good at like being constructive. Like if there's a problem, we talk about it, we try to come to the same solution, and like it ends up being like, yeah, you're right, I did that wrong. So yeah, we're just pretty like positive with each other. Like I think we all know that we're like really good. We know we're one of the best teams, if not the best team. We just need to like figure it out, work together, and I mean, it's just that's just the way we do it. We're pretty passive. We don't like yell at each other and things like that.
Well, you know, Zara Tricky, you guys have a reputation that precedes you of being a team that's almost so aggressive because you're willing to fight anything. But we've seen you change that a little bit. We've seen in this interview the composure, the calmness, the constructive criticism you guys are giving to each other. And it's starting to look scary, I think, for the rest of North America as well as the world. Congratulations, my friend, on the win. And thanks for taking your time to speak with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Zara Tricky from Furia getting the W today in stylish fashion. I love the conversation there, Vicky and Tiff, that he was able to give us the insights to what it's like behind Furia. I think maybe different than what many people expected for a team that is so aggressive in their play style. Very calm on the backside of it in terms of their communication style. But I want to leave it to you, Vicky, to react to kind of Zara Tricky, the day. Any final thoughts here as we look to close the show?
As somebody who is currently #1 in the kill leaderboard for the day today, Zero definitely has that confidence. And I like the way he was talking about his teammates, about their dynamic with one another. I feel like that's super important. And for those of you guys trying to get better at Apex Legends, having that IGL and having the communication that you need to pop off in ranked is super key. And so to be able to see how Fury have been able to make the adaptation to be able to be a squad that prioritizes their final positioning in those final circles is always really nice to see. Tiffany, I want to ask you, after all the action that we got to see unfold today for North America, do you have any final thoughts for the action that we saw?
I just think I want to double down, right? We've seen a theme between EMEA and NA and these kill-heavy, aggressive teams. But when it boils down, when we got to talk to Matafe earlier, it was the trust that he had in his teammates. And you could hear it from Zara there as well. He's like, we know that we are one of the best teams. We trust each other. We have constructive criticism. And when we got to speak to LG's Yanya, that was a moment to shine right there as well. The trust that they have in one another helps them find success. And I feel like if some of these teams start really amplifying on that, it's going to be a scary split one playoffs.
Well, Vicky, Tiff, you both have some great thoughts at the end, and you were both phenomenal across the entirety of the day. Thank you for your casting, your commentary, and the good vibes here on the desk with me. Have a good rest of the night. Thank you, casters, for joining us. And for those who have been watching as well, thank you for joining us here. We got more Apex Legends action happening all throughout the month of December. In fact, our very next show is coming up on Sunday, December 11th. That's the next ALGS Match Day 8. And then after that, Match Day 9. Once we do that, it's regional finals. So get ready to understand that there is more hypeness coming through your screen. So make sure you're following Play Apex, whether it's on YouTube, whether it is on Twitch, and of course with our Twitter, Play Apex Esports. Those are our socials. Make sure you are there for Sunday, December 11th. In terms of just closing out the show, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been a part of it, everyone behind the scenes who has put this together, from EA side, from Apex's side, from our production side, from our caster and talent side. It's always a pleasure doing these shows and connecting with you, our Apex Legends community and family. We wouldn't be the ALGS without all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name has been Rainday, Vicky Kitty, Spider Tiff on the cast. And as always, never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all next time.